Ah, that was the problem. Hello, hello, hello. All fixed now. Hello, folks. We're gonna play some video games. I'm gonna have music on in the background so you're not just listening to shoot bangs the entire time. Needs to probably be a little bit lower than it is right now, though. Around there will probably do it. And I'll also turn down the video game once we get into it so the shoot bangs aren't too loud. That'll probably do it, but we'll make adjustments as we go on. Hello, everybody. Hi, how are you? It's me, I'm Jacob. Today we're going to play some video games on a stream because I need to test some stuff. We'll get into that in just a minute. Ah, delicious. Yummy. CPU usage. 42%. Great. Doesn't bode super well for me. Does not bode super well for me. Ho ho! Drew Tosniak says, streaming UI, question mark. Could you explain for the plebs? UI means user interface. YouTube keeps changing its user interface for certain things, including its streaming features. Since YouTube keeps changing its interface for many different features, it means that when I try and do something that I could do just fine last week, all of a sudden buttons aren't where they're supposed to be, features have been changed, all that sort of thing, so I have to relearn how to start a stream. So when I said that it wasn't starting because I had to figure out because they changed the UI on me, what I meant was that I was having difficulties on the on that end. All right, here we go. Can I make you pop out? There you go. Thanks. Why is YouTube like this? Why do you give me the opportunity to pop out the chat and then it's the same size as it was before? That's so stupid. All right, whatever. Let's scroll through here real fast. I'm gonna try and catch up on chat real quick before we actually move on here. Also, folks, tell me if volume is okay and all that kind of stuff. Tell me if I'm too loud, if the music is too loud, all that sort of thing. Let's see here. Someone asked, do you think the Sleeping Realm theory makes the story a bit more interesting / tolerable? I've never read the Sleeping Realm theory. I answered that in chat, but I'll say it anyway. I never read the Sleeping Realm theory because I didn't care, because my basic understanding of it was that most of Kingdom Hearts 3 was secretly taking place in the Sleeping Realm, and I knew that that was never going to happen and would probably be debunked in the next piece of Kingdom Hearts media. Or something would come up that would interfere with the intricacies of the theory. I just never particularly cared. Also, it's like 300 pages long or something. I couldn't care less. Danny Banani asks, pardon me, I have a tangent type question. This isn't really a tangent type question, but you're more than welcome to ask. Would you be okay with someone making animatics around vocals from your playthroughs? Absolutely. It's fan content. I'm not going to stop you, you know. I'm not going to sue you or anything if you use our audio for that type of thing, as long as, you know, you say where you got it from. So yeah, go right ahead. Sorry, folks, like I said, just catching up on chat real fast, then we'll be moving forward here. Kendall Hart asks about how people are liking Persona 5 Royal. I'm not playing Persona 5 Royal and probably won't for some time. I don't need to spend 60 bucks on that game. I love P5, but I don't need another copy of it, no matter how much new stuff is in it for 60 bucks. Maybe after it drops to 40 or 30 or something. You know, that's a conversation that will happen at some point in the future. What are we testing today? Asks Drew tells me. I'll go ahead and answer that. I suppose I should. Basically, what with the whole virus situation, among other things, I'm trying to figure out some alternative recording solutions. Trying to figure out how to do some stuff remotely. And, I mean, if you've watched our streams in the past, you already know that I'm not exactly a streaming wizard. I don't know how to do a lot of the stuff that other people do. So I have to figure out solutions to some problems. I got to figure out how I'm going to film something, let's say, with Joey, if we're in different houses, right? And there's a couple of different options. One of them is I film the game, right? I go ahead and film it. I edit maybe some of the downtime and menuing out if I want to. I upload that video to YouTube privately, and then Joey and I watch it at the same time in, like, a Discord server or over Skype or whatever, and then we record ourselves talking over it. Which is basically what, that's the format that Chip Cheesem LPs does and a couple of other people. The video is pre-recorded, and one of the commentators has naturally already seen everything that's going to happen, but honestly, that fits pretty well within our format anyway. The only thing you lose is potentially my spontaneous reaction to gameplay things that happen, but, you know. And then the other option is streaming, you know, video directly to the other person who isn't here. I'm playing it live, they're watching it live. Excuse me. And then we're recording our commentary, you know, simultaneously. Of course, that introduces a bunch of things, though, because I got to be able to stream the footage to the other person. I got to record it at a high enough quality, and then I got to record my audio and the other person's audio, and I got to do all that stuff at the same time. So basically, I've been messing around with settings within OBS, because typically, the capture software that I usually use to get all of our footage records at a higher visual quality. That's, you know, what I want. But I can't stream using that software. OBS, which is the software that I and most people use for streaming, not most, a lot of people use for streaming, probably most, honestly, it's pretty common, does let you record local files, but not at as high of a quality as what I can get out of the other program, at least not typically. So I've been fiddling with settings, and I'm bumping up the quality of the local recordings that it makes to try and make sure that, that if I were to stream the signal to because basically the problem is that I can't record in both pieces of software at the same time, and I can only send the signal to one piece of software. So if I'm going to be streaming the signal to somebody, I'm also going to have to record it inside OBS. And if I'm going to record it inside OBS and then use that footage for Let's Plays, I want it to be of a high enough I want it to be of a comparable level of visual quality to what I would be getting with the other piece of software. But then that also means I got to worry about CPU usage, I got to worry about potential lag, I got to worry about other things, so I've been running tests on some of this stuff for the last day or so, doing some head-to-head comparisons, and now I wanted to take this opportunity to run a test recording a local file at about the level of quality that I want, while also streaming to make sure that everything, you know, worked properly. And it absolutely should, but it's better to test these things than, you know, not and find out that things don't work properly, so that's what we're doing. Sora at Kyle Amasso, is Jacob going to play the FF7 Remake? When it gets here, if it gets here, I'll stream it. Probably not in its entirety. We'll probably do a couple of streams of it. I don't think we'll be doing a full playthrough of it on stream. The plan had been, before it got delayed, it was going to come out a couple weeks. It was going to come out like a week before Joshua, my brother, would have been back home from college on spring break. The plan was that myself, Joey, and Joshua would have done probably 1 or 2 streams of it while Joshua was in town. Then the game got pushed back, but then also all school was canceled, so my brother's here anyway, but Joey isn't. So when the game gets here, we'll probably do 1 or 2 streams of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I don't think it'll be a full playthrough. I don't think it'll be, you know, 10, 12, however many streams are necessary to get through the entire thing. But I mean, we'll see. It's going to depend, you know, it's not only going to depend on how I'm feeling, because sometimes I just want to play a video game without having the stress of doing the extra stuff on top of it, but it's also going to, you know, depend on turnout, how I'm feeling, how Joshua's feeling, all that kind of stuff. We'll see how it goes. Ruby Knight, say, Jacob, will there ever be another series like Kingdom Hearts where you have something that you like and that you hate about it, that you have something to say about the entire way through? If you're asking, will there ever be another video game series where I can go into as much depth and scrutinization as the Kingdom Hearts franchise? Possibly. The main problem is the time that it would take to film a series like that. And obviously, it takes quite some time to film the Kingdom Hearts franchise. And with limited availability for filming, the potential that, you know, the channel might not, like, okay, let's say that we committed to doing the entire, let's say that to right now in 2020, Joey and I decided we were going to shoot the entire Kingdom Hearts series, right, from scratch. Let's say that the last, you know, 5 years didn't happen. I mean, like, I might not be here in 5 years. I might not be living in the same town in 5 years. I might move away. He might move away. Any number of things might happen. So it's difficult to commit to doing a series of that scale again. So we'll be doing games that I think I'll certainly... You guys got to understand, you may be like, you know, oh, Jacob's got all this stuff to say about Kingdom Hearts. Does he not have stuff to say about other games? Like right now, okay, we're playing, you know, multiplayer in Call of Duty, right? But I shot a playthrough years ago that didn't come out for a variety of reasons with Aiden of the original Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. And I got plenty of stuff to say about that game. I got plenty, like, I can talk about just about any piece of media. Whether or not I can go into the extreme level of detail I did with Kingdom Hearts, you know, I don't know. But Kingdom Hearts is something that lends itself to that level of scrutinization because there are so many games and there's so much information and so many characters to deal with. There are games that are probably there are games where I could talk about in a ton of detail and go in depth on more than just Kingdom Hearts, but whether or not they would be on the same level, you know, I don't know. It's a weird metric to grade things on. People are making fun of my facial hair. I mean, it's the quarantine. I don't have to worry about being presentable.
For your crappy, scraggly beard?
No. I just haven't shaved because I'm at home.
He's just lazy.
I only decided that I was going to stream about 40 minutes ago, so I don't particularly care how I look. Yeah, someone said that Jacob looked. Did someone? Yeah, you can tell KH3 wore Jacob down physically, and someone that said that he did the playthrough a year ago. Yeah, guys, we finished Kingdom. As the end tag on the final episode of Kingdom Hearts 3 says, we finished filming Kingdom Hearts 3 on the 22nd of February in 2019. Maybe editing it has worn me down a little bit, but honestly, I finished editing Kingdom Hearts 3 weeks ago. I've been editing Sonic for the most part. If you haven't watched the video from last night, Sonic Adventure is the next playthrough. But hopefully, if you're in here talking about Kingdom Hearts spoilers, you've watched the episode of you've watched the final episode of the Kingdom Hearts 3 playthrough. The only reason that I was doing any Kingdom Hearts editing at all in the last couple of days, the finale was done, but I went in and I had to finish cutting the Sonic trailer and making the end screen. I also made a couple of changes to Part 41 before it went up, but pretty minor. For the most part, that was all done a couple weeks ago. Ruben27 Lozano says, I still think Remind leads to nowhere on the plot, on the story, plot, and waste of time. Yeah, no, Remind's a complete... I mean, people like the limit cut scenario, the bosses. I've heard the bosses are really good, and people like that, the Gmod posing stuff. Remind scenario is useless. Everybody, I saw people in chat in the final episode of Kingdom Hearts 3 saying that it was like, it ties up loose ends and it explains a lot, and it does not. It doesn't explain anything. It doesn't tie up any loose ends. It's a complete waste of time. Kettlehart says, I have never actually played Persona 5. I just watched LPs on YouTube, so it doesn't bother me at all buying P5R. It makes sense. Not Friendly Name says, FFR Remake will probably be controversial. I've watched quite a bit of it, and I'm sure that there will be people who are purists who are upset about even the minor things that they change, but so far, everything that I've seen of the Final Fantasy VII Remake is fantastic. Rainy Heart asks, is the Sonic LP already filmed? Yes, it is. It's all been shot. It is done. The next LP that was going to come out after that, which is like partially shot, is probably going to get delayed because of this whole pandemic situation. Joey and I are probably going to switch to filming something else while we're doing remote filming, if we can even get it set up properly. We haven't done any tests. I don't know what the sound quality is going to be like on his end, and if it's garbage, then we aren't going to shoot anything. Linus, during the KH3 LP, it was spoiled in trailers. Jacob's Sonic LP trailer shows the final boss. It's the opening cutscene of Sonic Adventure. It's the opening cutscene of Sonic Adventure. Everything that I've said, I watched quite a bit of the FF7 remake already because it's out in Australia and a couple of other places. So I opened up a playthrough, and granted, I skipped around a lot. I skipped over a lot of things. There's still little grunts and anime-isms here and there, but for the most part, the script is amazing. These are like, it's hard to say on Barrett because Barrett is, for those who have played FF7, is obviously going to undergo a pretty significant change after a certain point in FF7 that I did not get to. I basically got up to Wall Market. Again, I skipped a bunch of stuff getting to there, but I watched stuff up to Wall Market. All I'm going to say is the FF7 remake, these are the definitive versions of these characters. Like, the depictions of the main cast in this game annihilate all other versions of these characters. Aerith, Tifa, and Cloud are the best they've ever been. That's amazing. Amazing how good the writing is, and it's amazing how it looks like they gave the localization team. I talked about this on a stream, one of the last streams that we did. Which, by the way, so this stream and other streams like it are going to get dumped in. They're not going to be visible on the general landing page of research runs. You're going to have to go to the one-off streams playlist. Certain streams will stay up and be visible forever, but for certain junk, multiplayer streams like this, they'll be unlisted and in the playlist. But we talked about an interview that was conducted a number of years ago regarding localization on the FF series that I won't go into a ton of detail right now, but it sounds like they really allowed the localization team to go for, there are two types of options. One of them is very direct translation, try to improve the English script as you go on, and the other one is allow the localization team to make changes along the way as long as the gist is maintained and the spirit of what's being said is maintained, but make it sound natural. And it sounds like they actually went with the second option, which is not always better, but often better. I shouldn't say often better. It depends on the quality of the writing on the English side. If the guys who are localizing it are bad writers, then it's not better. But so far, the script of the FF7 remake, I think about Kingdom Hearts 3 and all of its attempts at jokes. I think the only time in that game when it's funny and it was trying to be funny is Yeetus Vanitas. I think that's one of the few attempts at comedy that is successful in that game. For the most part, all the other jokes are poorly timed, poorly written, don't make sense, and they try to do a sitcom laugh track with all the characters laughing at it that makes it really uncomfortable. Whereas I laughed out loud like 2 or 3 dozen times with the footage that I watched of FF7. I'm telling you guys. I mean, I've only played the demo. The demo, I liked the gameplay well enough. And most of the footage that I was watching, the people who were playing it did not seem to know what they were doing on the gameplay end of things. So I can't speak to the gameplay content. I can't really speak to the pacing because, like I said, I was skipping around a lot. I can't speak to the quality of the side quests. The script is so good. The dialogue is so good. No, J-Dog, we're not going to talk about Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies. I don't know anything about that garbage. Joey could talk about it, but I think he probably said everything he has to say in that one episode of KH3. Definitely no in-depth, long-term playthroughs of all of the Nazi zombies stuff coming your way or anybody else's way anytime soon. Not a Friendly Name says, most of it looks really good. I'm pretty excited, but there's an element in the remake that'll peeve a lot of people. I will say there are probably some things in the remake that I think will frustrate people, but I think it's going to be... I think it's ultimately a very cosmetic thing. It's gonna annoy... There's some things... There are some things that I suspect will annoy people, but they're like... Okay, this thing happened, and it lasted 30 seconds, and now we're back to the game being normal. There are a handful of things. We'll see how it goes. You know, I haven't seen the whole game yet. I don't know how it's all going to be executed, and there's plenty of stuff that I don't know about. Like I said, I only got to Wall Market. There's a lot of game after that. Norway asks, will there be any Snapcube real-time dubs quoting in the Sonic LP? I don't remember, honestly. I'm sure that we did at some point, but there will probably be more during SA2 than there is during SA1, if we get to SA2. Because obviously the dubs that they did were of SA2, 06, and the Riders games. They didn't do one for SA1. I'm sure we probably referenced it a couple of times, but I don't recall. Yes, Norwega, the demo for FF7 is available. It's been out for a couple of weeks now. And if you download it quickly, when the game comes out, you'll get a free dynamic PS4 theme for downloading it before April 10th. Jason asks who's the writer for FF7 Remake. Nojima, the guy who wrote FF7. Nojima has written, among other things, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy X, Kingdom Hearts 1, he was one of the writers on Kingdom Hearts 1. He was scenario supervisor on Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, but he didn't actually write it. He wrote Advent Children. He was one of the writers on Kingdom Hearts 2. Technically speaking, he was this. I always forget about this. He was the scenario writer for the Subspace Emissary in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which obviously had no dialogue, but I guess he, wrote the script of what happened, along with Sakurai. He hasn't done much else other script writing since then. He's mostly scenario supervisor on stuff after that, but he's writing FF7. There are interviews you can go find on the Final Fantasy YouTube channel. There are I think three so far, like behind-the-scenes little documentaries where they talk with most of the lead staffers about their process, and they're pretty interesting. I definitely recommend going and watching them. Swing by the Final Fantasy YouTube channel sometime. The Shadow Enigma says, that's funny, I watched up to Wall Market as well, and I disagree. I think the writing is a lot weaker in FF7. The presentation is spectacular, the actual story, not so much, just my opinion. You gotta, well, it's adapting the story of Final Fantasy VII, and I think that in our Final Fantasy VII Let's Play, we actually, specifically, one thing that happened is Joey wasn't really into it until after Wall Market, and, the thing happens. I'm specifically talking about the dialogue, the character work. Not necessarily the plotting, because the plotting of FF7 is a little bit lethargic until a specific event happens. I'm talking about the character work, the drama, the relationships. That's what I mean when I say the writing is good. The words that leave people's mouths. That's what I'm talking about. Pin Hero says, I've been avoiding FF7 R-related content, but hearing the characters are done justice is getting me more excited about it. Dude, there is about, 5-6 minutes after Aerith shows up, there's one brief exchange. She says 2 sentences, and I was like, perfect. Nailed it. This is so much better. This is exactly in the spirit of the character as she was written in the original, and better than she was in the original at the same time. It's taking everything that was good about her and enhancing it and taking it further. It's fantastic. I don't want to talk about it, though, because, it's spoilers. I do know Hurt. This is an insane amount to get memorized. Sounds like a good memory. Everybody's just throwing out their favorite Kingdom Hearts 3 quotes. Say, fellas, did somebody mention the door to darkness? Pin Hero, no, I'm not gonna answer that one, actually. Okay, I was like, what are you talking about there? But I think you're being sarcastic. Not friendly names that I highly doubt FF7 will be as well written as KH3. The awkward grunts and pauses was masterful dialogue, truly groundbreaking for video game narratives. Yush asks, did you replay KH like you said at the ending of the Research Run's playthrough? No, I haven't done it yet. I'll probably do it on stream at some point. That's why I haven't. I'm waiting to possibly... My thought process was I'll go play the since we've done, you know, all the HD versions, I'd probably play the PlayStation 2 version on stream at some point. But, you know, I couldn't do that until after KH3 was done and got other things to do first. And other donations. I'll get down there in a second. Okay, hold on. Before I read the donations, I have to read this because every time it appears, it has to be read. William Noruega says, "You mean the Chaos Emeralds?" I'm going to assume that you mean the Chaos Emeralds because I just so happen to have one. Right here.
Oh, I just got the Chaos Emerald.
Mr. President, get down. Chaos Control.
Whoa.
Thank you, Joshua, for the backup there. Drew Chosniak. Shoot, almost forgot to invest in my only decent entertainment source during the quarantine with a $5 donation. Thank you very much. I'm sure you can find other valuable sources of information somewhere. The wrong end of the utilitarian calculus is trying to trap me into another one of these donating money to make the streamer read a thing. And I'll read it with the noting that I'm reading it because I was given $5. Thank you very much. Both death and God are the same thing, an abstract representation of our own power, and the point of all abstraction is to be actualized into art. Hope you're happy. Hope that was worth your money. And Drew Tosniak throws in another $2. The F did I just read? Onimax Blade says, could you say the 2 sentences, as in the Aerith thing? No, I'm not going to spoil it. People haven't played. It's not out yet. It's not out yet. Look, when it's out, I'll tell you guys. I'll post the clip on Twitter, because I saved it. When I was watching the LP, I backed it up and I turned on my screen capture software and I recorded it just in case the LP got taken down that I was watching, which it did. So I'll talk about it at some point, but I'm not talking about it right now. Shadow Enigma talks about, yes, but even with the characterization I have issues. As a quick example, during the reactor sequence, none of the characters are behaving believably given the circumstances. It's quite jarring. That's just FF7, dude. That's just FF7. The original game, Barrett is on a train, and he's a 7-foot-tall guy who's muscled beyond belief and has a gun for an arm. And when a businessman says, oh man, somebody blew up the reactor, Barrett points the gun at his face and says, what? Don't you know that they're trying to save the planet? The fact that they weren't caught was insane. And the character's always like, okay, we gotta get out of this reactor before it blows up. Let's all press the buttons at the same time. Let's all talk here. It has always been ridiculous. I'm just saying. That's just the territory that's just what comes with the territory. You have to, there's a certain level of suspension of disbelief you have to engage with the narrative of Final Fantasy VII. Rainy Heart with a $10 donation. Thank you for all your awesome content, Jacob. Also, thank you for your recommendations. After you sung Attack on Titan's praises, I decided to watch it. It's probably going to be one of my favorites. Season 2's a little bit slow in some spots. I didn't actually watch Season 2, but I read the manga for Season 2, for the equivalent for Season... Well, I read it before the show came out, and it was a bit slow in the manga, and I've heard that the anime does some editing tricks to try and make it exciting that are kind of obnoxious, but the Season 3, or the equivalent of Season 3 in the manga, ugh. And everything that's happened since then, all the current arc stuff is like, it's insane. It's so good. JG with the $2 donation, thank you very much. My name is Nomura, and Verum Rex is my revenge. Okay, Ruby Knights. Hey, Jacob, what's your favorite part of the Keyblade Graveyard segment from Kingdom Hearts 3? Not on an ironic level, and not from a it's so bad it's good level, just something genuine. The nameless stars. The stars. All the dead stars talking about their regrets from real life.
No, that's in the Land of the Dead. That's not in the Keyblade Graveyard. You're not allowed to use that as cheating.
Well, hold on. First, I'll talk about that, because all of the stuff with the stars is legitimately amazing. The writing there is the best it is in the entire game. The best it's been in several games, probably. It's very good. In the actual Keyblade Graveyard sequence, probably Terra coming back.
I was about to say Terra. That's what it was for me, too.
Terra grabbing Terra Xehanort and ripping specifically him ripping the bonds off of his mouth so he can speak, is probably the coolest thing that happens at the ending of that game.
Fan theory about him being the Guardian. That was like the only one I ever even remotely cared about.
Josh was saying that's the only fan theory, Terra possibly being the Guardian, the only one he ever cared about. And it's like, for the record, it still doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make
because
that much
beforehand
sense.
I
At
said
the same
there's...
time, I thought it would be cool.
Beforehand I said there are holes in that theory, and I never really talked about it, and I don't care to right now. It's like, it had already happened, so it doesn't matter, but like, it doesn't make sense by the game's own internal logic, but who cares? It's a cool moment. People get, I think people tend to misconstrue some of my criticisms of Kingdom Hearts and think that I'm just upset because it doesn't make sense, but it's because, no, I always care about character stuff and drama first, but now Kingdom Hearts doesn't. And if there's no, the main, like, okay, this is the problem, right? Okay, let's look at the original Star Wars. If you really want to look into this in some level of detail, if you go to, like, you know, YouTuber asshole levels of scrutinization on the original Star Wars, you can pick it apart just like you can the other movies. Because you go, okay, if Darth Vader's so strong, why didn't he go in first? If all the stormtroopers are coming through one door, how is it that the good guys didn't just shoot them all coming through that one door? Why didn't they throw in, like, tear gas or something like that? If Darth Vader's got a lightsaber and he can do this and throw people around like he does in Rogue One, why didn't he come through first? He's supposed to be threatening. He comes in last afterwards. Just because he's wearing black, that doesn't mean he's threatening. Why does he pick up the guy and choke him with his hand and throw him against a wall if he can do this with his hand and force choke him? Better yet, later on, we see Obi-Wan do this and control somebody's mind. Why doesn't Darth Vader just do this and control somebody's mind? Why doesn't he make Leia tell him where the plan is, or at least try? He calls in a robot with a needle instead of doing this after we just saw Obi-Wan do this? Why doesn't he do that? Why does Luke, how does the sand person sneak up on Luke? Was he not listening? Did he not have ears with which to listen? C-3PO and R2-D2 were both there. Why didn't they warn him that the sand person was coming? Can isn't R2 doing, like, wasn't R2, like, doing scans of things?
No. That's ridiculous.
How does Luke, living on a poor moisture farmer place, how does he own a tea whatever, like, the, you know, the basically like a crop duster that he flies around? Why does he have that? How do they have the money for him to have one of those things and fly around and shoot womp rats in a valley? But you're engaged enough with what's happening in the narrative dramatically that you don't notice these things. Then you go to the Phantom Menace, and it's like, because what's happening in the original Star Wars is very clear. In the opening crawl, there's an evil, corrupt government that is taking over the galaxy, and there are rebels who are running away from them, right? That's the plot. They have a doomsday weapon, and the rebels are trying to destroy the doomsday weapon that can blow up planets. And later on in the movie, they do blow up a planet. So we know who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, and what the stakes are, and everything is pretty straightforward. There's rebels, they're trying to kill the bad guy government. It's real straightforward. Then you get to the Phantom Menace. Okay, so the Trade Federation, this is just the opening credits, the opening crawl, before the movie's even started. Okay, so there's a corporation that the Trade Federation, and I guess they run. Do they run all space trade or just some space trade? It doesn't. They must run some space trade. There's no way they run all space trade. No, there's no way they run all. So they must run some space trade.
Then they wouldn't care about space taxes.
Yeah, they wouldn't care space taxes if they had a space monopoly, right? Okay, so they must just be a space corporation that runs trade, even though we don't see any other ones. But that's fine. That's not that important. Okay, so there's taxes on trade that they're upset about. So they are.
I'm wondering why there are taxes on trade though, and the Republic's basically the only governing force in the entire galaxy.
Yeah, if the galaxy, if the Republic are the only governing force in the galaxy, why are there tariffs and taxes on trade? But what? I guess they need money. Whatever.
It's probably corrupt like Rome.
Okay, so now to protest the taxes, they're blockading a planet that seems illegal. Okay, whatever. But okay, maybe the movie will explain this. Okay, so the Republic is sending 2 emissaries to negotiate with them about the taxes, 2 Jedi Knights. So they get there, which means that the Trade Federation got what they wanted. They've got the Republic to come to the table to talk about the taxes and to discuss the trade dispute. And then when they get there, a guy in a cloak shows up and says, "Shoot them." And you're like, "Wait, why are these 2 businessmen doing what the guy in the cloak says? Why are they assassinating government officials when they came to the table, which was what they wanted?" So I don't know what's happening.
It would have been like if Hitler at the Munich conference had just shot Chamberlain and then walked out.
So we don't know what's happening, And there's no relationship stuff going on with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Their relationship is established. There's no friction or drama between them, so there's not much for us to engage with dramatically, and we don't really understand what's happening. Then they decide to launch an invasion of Naboo. So the Trade Federation has a private military that's sending armed troops down to a planet that is a sovereign... It's the equivalent of a nation that is part of the UN. It's a part of the Republic, right? Or it's like a state in the United States.
Yeah, it would be like if they were invading, like, I don't know, like Yugoslavia back in the 90s. Like, need a reason to do that. It was because they were doing genocide. You can't just do it.
So they sent in troops. A private corporation has just sent in a private army to a planet, and they start putting civilians in internment camps. That's what happens in that movie. They're talking about they're sending everybody to camps, right? And their objective is to get the Queen of Naboo to sign a treaty that will make their invasion legal. A couple of things come to mind. Number one, how will this help them with the taxes? All they will have accomplished is invading one planet,
Which probably is super costly.
which is very costly, and it won't do anything about the taxes. Are they hoping to hold the Republic hostage and make the Republic, like, say, okay, we'll lift the taxes if you leave Naboo alone? But, like, why would they just leave them alone and let them go? Why wouldn't they tax them more because of this? Typically, when someone is misbehaving, governments punish them to discourage them from doing it. And even if they get the Queen to sign a treaty saying that the invasion is legal, won't it just be legal on Naboo? Won't it still be a violation of the Space Geneva Convention?
Yeah, that's the other thing.
For a private corporation to invade a planet and arrest its leadership and put them in internment camps? So what's their plan? Because even if it's made legal, won't the Senate send an investigative council to Naboo, and won't they talk to the civilians who were forcibly put in camps at gunpoint, who say this private corporation put us in camps at gunpoint? So what's the plan? Is it because the guy in the hood told them to do it? Why are they doing what the guy in the hood told them to do? And so far, all that's happened is Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, who have no drama or friction, have met a guy named Jar Jar Binks that they basically get along with but are slightly annoyed by. And they go to the city and they rescue the Queen, and nothing is happening with any of the characters, and I don't know what the objective is, so I'm just thinking about all these things that don't make sense. And that's the difference. Here's the other immediate comparison, right? Let's look at Infinity War, not Infinity War, Endgame. We need to use time travel to accomplish a very specific mission.
Let's not explain it.
How does the time travel work, movie? It doesn't matter. Dude, it doesn't matter. Just roll with it. It works. It works. Don't worry about it. Just roll with it. That's the movie telling me, oh, okay, so don't worry about it. Just care about what's happening dramatically with all these characters, wrapping up character arcs that have been developing for 15 years. Got it. Okay, I'm engaged with the characters and not worrying about the lore. Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance says, okay, we're introducing time travel now 15 years into our story. Here's 6 minutes of cutscenes of young Xehanort explaining the mechanics of time travel in explicit detail.
That don't make no sense.
And then they break the rules immediately. Also, let's look at why this is also really important. Because people, this is just a larger thing about, because people always go like, oh, why did they put time travel into the story? Time travel is bad. Time travel ruins everything. And that's not the case, because then you turn around and say, well, what about Terminator? What about Back to the Future? What about Steins Gate? What about Avengers Endgame? And this is the difficulty, right? Yeah. That you stare down is, okay, so why does time travel work sometimes and other times it doesn't? And it's because if time travel is introduced there are a couple of reasons that time travel can be introduced into a story. Number one, time travel creates the problem, right? That's Back to the Future. That's Terminator, right? Time travel exists in the story as a specific vehicle to create the drama that the entire story is now going to center around. Time travel allows the Terminators to come back in time and creates an unstoppable killing machine in the 80s that under-equipped characters have to deal with. Time travel sends Marty McFly back to the 50s, and he has to find a way to get back home and get his parents to fall in love and unknowingly alter the future, right? It's the source of the plot of the movie. Alternatively, time travel is the only way to solve the problem. Avengers Endgame is an example of this. Time travel is we need the Infinity Stones, and they've been destroyed. How do we get them back? Time travel. That's the only solution that we have. We got to use time travel to get the stones back. That's the only way to solve the problem of this narrative. Steins Gate is kind of a mixture of the problems exist because of time travel and can only be solved because of time travel. Let's look at Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. What does the time travel accomplish? Well, we've already introduced in Coded that if you kill a nobody on a Heartless, the original person is reformed, right? So we already have all of the original organization members and Xehanort coming back. That's already established. So what does time travel actually afford us in Dream Drop Distance? It lets us have young Xehanort in the story. It lets us have Ansem, Seeker of Darkness in the story, and it lets us have Xemnas in the story. What do they do?
Have crappy boss battles.
They have cool boss battles.
They're fine,
They have cool boss battles with cool music. But what do they do to the story?
Nothing.
If you removed those 3 from the story, what changes?
Well, it's just 3 less Xehanorts who could be 3 guys.
They could be somebody else.
Yeah.
They could be other characters. You could just pick other people to fill those slots.
Yeah, you could have just had Sora's final boss battle be against Xehanort, and it would have
What if you removed Xemnas, young Xehanort, Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, Terranort, and Vanitas from Kingdom Hearts 3? What do you lose?
Well, you lose 6 of your Xehanorts, which could have just been other people.
You pick other characters, though. The only thing I can think of that you lose is that you lose an easy way to get Terra back.
Yeah.
You get a consequence-free Terra revival, because otherwise you would have had to strip him out of, Xemnas's and Ansem the Seeker of Darkness's restored body, and he would have been aged by 10 years. So by having time travel Terranort in the story, you get to get Terra back consequence-free, which I think is lame, but that's a personal opinion. I would have preferred him and Aqua to have aged, but that's a personal dramatic thing. So as far as I can tell, the only purpose of introducing time travel into Kingdom Hearts from a dramatic standpoint is we get consequence-free Terra back in Kingdom Hearts 3, which means the only reason time travel exists in Dream Drop Distance is fan service. So that's the difference. And when I talk about rules in Kingdom Hearts not making sense, it's because the rules exist solely for the sake of themselves. They don't exist to serve the drama. When the characters in Endgame say, this is how time travel works, don't think about it too hard, we need to focus on resolving these character arcs and plot threads, then that's what happens. When characters spend 17 minutes explaining something in Kingdom Hearts, there's no relationship work or drama happening. I was talking with Joshua about this earlier, the only actual character work that happens in Kingdom Hearts 3 is the 2 scenes that Kairi and Axel get. That's the only time where there's, just characters talking about how they feel and developing relationship stuff. That's it. Outside of, the Disney stuff, but that's cheating. That's it. I wouldn't care about the lore not making sense if there was dramatic stuff to engage with. But since basically DDD, there's no dramatic stuff to engage with. That's why and you have to understand this as well. All the criticisms that I leveled at KH2, Birth by Sleep, as we were going on through the playthroughs, I like Kingdom Hearts 2 a lot, despite its problems. And despite the fact that I'm personally not as big of a fan of Terra, Aqua, and Ven as I am of some of the other characters in the series, and I think Birth by Sleep has some issues, I also think that's a really good game. The first game in the Kingdom Hearts series that I actively dislike in any regard is Dream Drop Distance, and I still think the gameplay in that game is fun. The problem is that Dream Drop Distance is the first game in the series that doesn't have anything dramatic going on. It doesn't have any character work happening. That's where the problems actually start. And when you get to a point where there's no character work happening and no drama, then all you have to engage with is the stuff that the story is putting in your face and telling you to care about, which is the lore. Kingdom Hearts 1 doesn't spend 10 minutes explaining anything to you. It says it doesn't even explain what the keyholes are until after it happens. Leon says, oh, if you use it's in a text box. It's not even in a fully voiced cutscene. Oh, if you point the Keyblade at the keyhole, it stops the world from being destroyed. Sora, please do that for Traverse Town and other worlds. And that's it. That's all the explanation that happens. The end of the world, there's not even a line where they explain that it's an amalgamation of all the worlds, really. You get it from environmental cues, and you get it from that little poem that's written in the lab that you find on there. And that's about it. The rest of it you have to kind of infer. The game doesn't waste its time explaining any of that kind of stuff. The only time that Chain of Memories devolves into in-depth explanation of lore and mechanics is when Naminé explains her powers, which doubles as a dramatic scene where we find out how Naminé feels and what's actually been happening and how Sora's been manipulated the whole time. So they take that scene that's giving us exposition about the lore of what's happening in the game, and they double it up and make it into exposition about character work and Naminé's backstory and drama. And so the main reason that I criticize so much in Kingdom Hearts 2 and Birth by Sleep is not because the problems in those games are really that dramatic, but it's because no one did complain about them, and they just kept getting worse until the games that are bad. That's the real reason that I talked about that stuff so much, is because I'm tracing a through line of where problems started and then kept snowballing and becoming bigger and bigger. Wrong end of the utilitarian calculus gives me a $10 donation. I'm going to read this ahead of time to make sure I'm not getting trapped into anything too serious. Fine, I'll read this. Who cares? How do I stop getting caught up in how the ultimate conclusion of art is some sort of weird, inessential solipsism, and everyone is already in heaven and hell at the same time? Can't help you there. Can't help you there, my guy.
That's profound. I don't know what it means, but it probably means something larger than my brain can comprehend.
Can't help you there, my guy. I cannot help you with that one. Too much for my small, dumb Kojima brain to process. Not my dumb... I was trying to do the donkey thing. Kojima has big brain. It's Americans who play shooting game that have small brain. Speaking of which... we now play shooting game. They've added a mode, so I still don't own Modern Warfare, I only have Warzone, but they put in for a limited amount of time a game mode called Stocked Up, Locked Down, which is basically the standard multiplayer of Modern Warfare, but limited to 2 maps that also appear on the Warzone map. And from the beta, you know, I really enjoyed the standard multiplayer of Modern Warfare. It's a bit of a mix-up on the Call of Duty formula. The maps in this are pretty small, which is skewing towards the Black Ops style that I really don't care for. But the gunplay and the physics and the gun customization, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of mixing up from how previous games in the series played that I enjoyed. I couldn't buy this game at $60 in good faith, though, because the original Modern Warfare is one of my favorite games, and everything that I saw about this game's campaign was not very interesting to me. At some point, I will buy this game, and I will make a video about Modern Warfare versus Modern Warfare 2 versus Modern Warfare 3 versus Modern Warfare Remastered versus Modern Warfare 2019. At some point, that video will happen, but not today. I missed a lot of chat there because I was a very, very long discussion, and I apologize. Hey, Joshua, can you pause what you're doing and help me read chat? Do you mind? Do you mind doing that? Start from like here, and just any particularly... I'm gonna have to ask you to use your judgment. Anything that's particularly interesting or that I should talk about, please scroll down.
Lord,
Stuff?
I said, Lord, you're behind.
Well, I read some stuff from down below, but I missed a bunch because most of that stuff happened while I was talking about time travel. That was probably a mistake. I should have thrown it on. Oh no, it actually kind of landed in a. No, it landed in a terrible spot. That's not good at all.
Olim Norwega asks.
Olim Norwega.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I butchered.
It's fine.
This. I'm not used to doing this.
Go ahead.
Did you like the music that plays during the 3 Xehanorts fight? I thought it was neat.
I haven't listened to it again since I actually played it. I gotta be honest. When I was playing it, I wasn't very impressed. It didn't really hit me very hard like the boss themes from DDD did. But I saw some people in comments section saying sacrilege that you said that music isn't good. But I'll be totally real. I haven't listened to it again since we filmed it. I wasn't impressed at the time, but I did not feel particularly enthused about going and listening to the soundtrack of KH3. I listened to the Final World theme over and over again after we beat it, though. I love that track.
Hurricaneria says...
You can tell from the fact that I used it in the ending of every episode.
Hurricaneria asks and says, Modern Warfare 2 Remastered is $20 on PSN. I'd be happy with research streams about it and CoD 4.
Yeah, because that one's going to be, it's just the campaign right now.
Yeah, and he's saying just play it on Recruit.
I wouldn't play it on Recruit. I mean, I guess I could to talk about it.
Yeah. You could just have me play, because the whole problem was you tried to do it with Aiden, who was not good at the shooting.
Well, no, I was playing.
I guess, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. You can have me play, and then you can just talk. I'm decent at first-person shooting. Get to the hard point. Got the hard point.
I'd love to do the. We talked about one of our other thoughts was that Joey and I might do Modern Warfare to World at War to Modern Warfare 2 to Black Ops 1 to Modern Warfare 3. And our plan was to potentially schedule it so that we did World at War when you were in town, so you could offer some of your World War II expertise.
So just do my Gary Oldman impression the entire.
I probably need to read a couple books on the Iraq War before I have a serious discussion about Modern Warfare 1, though.
The smoke can steal your brain.
Dimitri.
Well, I think everybody knows about Reznov at this point if they've watched the KH3 playthrough.
Yeah.
Though we were mostly referencing his role in Black Ops, not in World at War.
Always.
Well, yeah, no, I did at one point quote World of War because I said, "Once again, you cheat death."
UK just says, just saying, Birth by Sleep is just Revenge of the Sith. It's not really that wrong.
I think, honestly, I think it's better than Revenge of the
I think
Sith.
it's better than Revenge of the Sith too, but that's just me. Revenge of the Sith is boring.
It's not even just because it's boring. I think that a lot of the character work in that movie is rushed, but that's because it wasn't set up in the previous films.
Yeah, no, it's because Anakin seems like a bad guy in Episode 2, and they had to like rewrite him to be kind of sympathetic in the first half of the movie. And
People talk a lot about the sequel trilogy being disorganized, and it certainly is. But like, if you really watch what's going on, and like, people say like, "Oh man, I can't believe they didn't have a plan from the beginning," and it's like the prequel trilogy is the only one that has a movie that you can literally cut and it wouldn't change the plot. You could cut the Phantom Menace and you lose nothing. I'm not saying that's somehow an automatic like, oh, and so people should be nicer to the sequels, but like, it's not as if the people are like, oh man, the prequels were always good and people were just mean. No, they were always bad.
Linus asks, what is your opinion on time travel in fiction as a whole?
It depends on its usage. I think that if it's introduced into a story, it should be there to serve. It should be there as like the primary focus of the narrative. Like I love Back to the Future. I love Steins Gate. And those are stories that are exclusively about time travel. I think that the vast majority of time when time travel is introduced into a story, and it's not the primary focus of the narrative, it winds up being mostly there for fan service, and that's when you start to get into problems because it starts being used to get around issues that you're like, that really shouldn't have been that easy for those characters to solve. The main thing is that time travel should not make things... Time travel should always be the problem, not the solution. Like, even in Endgame, where, you know, they use time travel to solve a problem, it causes a major... You know, it causes headaches along the way, right? Of, like, oh, crap, we don't have a way of solving this particular problem. Oh, no, oh no, you know, the time travel works this specific way, and oops, we missed our opportunity to get something in this timeline. Or specifically, like, you know, the time travel isn't like, okay, like, because think about it this way. Imagine if the time travel in Endgame had been a montage of like, okay, guys, let's go to the time periods and get all the stones, and then it was just a little, like, a musical montage starts, and, like, it cuts to them getting photoshopped into the old movies and picking up the stones and leaving.
That would be awful.
Then it would have been really lame, but instead it's the entire action of the movie is them having to solve problems with this time heist. So, I think generally speaking, the best way to ensure that time travel in your story is good and not bad is make time travel the source of a problem instead of an easy solution. Now that isn't always going to work, but I think that's probably a good way to start.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my second kill streak on this map, the Cluster Strike, it's completely useless on this interior map, but there's only 2 maps in this playlist, and one of them is outdoors, and the Cluster Strike is extremely useful, so.
Asks, oh, by the way, Jacob, I remember Joey talking about FF14. Do you ever consider making an LP? I know it would be a huge time sink, but I just want to see more reactions to that.
No, I don't think so. Sorry, guys. I think that would be way too much of a time investment for a channel that we already don't have time to do the things that we want to do already.
Oh, where is it?
I'm not really an MMO guy. I know, it does that odd. It does sometimes. It's bad. It's poorly designed. Oh, not good. Let's switch. This match is not going well, but that's okay. Who cares? I'm not playing particularly well, but that's fine.
You're not playing... Oh, wait, are you blue?
Yeah, I'm blue. You're always blue. I'm blue because I've only gotten on the point like twice and the team sucks, probably. But I mean, I shouldn't blame them. I need to work harder too, clearly. But I'm talking with you folks, so. Also, guys, tell me how oh crap, I just realized. Hold on a second. Yeah, way too loud. Sorry, let me turn the game way down, guys. My bad.
Ooh, the good music.
Better. All right. Sorry, guys. I totally forgot when we actually got started here that I was gonna have to turn down the game, but that should be better now.
Man, Valkyria
I apologize, folks. That was probably ear-shattering for a while there. Continue.
Valkyria Chronicles is probably no joke one of my favorite soundtracks in any game ever. No one knows about it.
It's real good.
Because it has a lot of FF12. I mean, it's by the same guy who did FF12, and that game already has an incredible soundtrack. I honestly think this one's on par.
There's not nearly as much of it. There's not nearly as much variety or total quantity, but it is good.
It's really good. Let's see.
Getting our asses beat here.
Eliomi asks, I love the concept of the replica bodies, but doesn't that make Shion, Roxas, and Naminé immortal and ageless?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Replicas suck, and they were a cop-out solution for writers that didn't want to have to come up with creative solutions for problems they didn't know how to solve. Now, I don't know how you solve Shion. That would require some new lore. Here's how you solve Roxas. Number one, he and Ven are the same person. But number two, his body should be inside of the computer in Twilight Town.
Yeah.
So they figure out, oh, his body is inside the computer in Twilight Town, and then after that, all they need to do is figure out how to get his heart outside of Sora, and then he's done. You don't need Replica or any of that garbage. Naminé, the excuse is she's weird. Oh, her body is inside of Kairi. Because she always, like, both of them both had bodies without being... You know, Sora and Kairi were both still walking around, and Naminé and Roxas had bodies. So they should be fine. Naminé was the only one, sorry, Shion was the only one where it was ever like, how? How are we going to get her back? And I never wasted much time thinking about that because I assumed that they had planned something, and they didn't. Their plan was, oh, Vexen had some post-it notes that said that she existed at some point, so she's back now.
Yeah, no,
Screw you!
Yeah, Eliomi followed up on that saying, say they get a terminal disease, they can just switch to another replica body, unless the disease attaches itself to their souls somehow.
It's a soul disease. I'm a soul disease.
Onimax Blade asks, how do you feel about Death Stranding? We haven't played it, so we can't really judge
Okay, I
it.
can't speak to Death Stranding at all.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it, I haven't played it.
It might be a perfect, it might be a 10 out of 10. I just, based on the few things I know about it, this is just me, I'm not speaking for Jacob in any way, but doesn't seem like my kind of game at all.
I think it sounds thematically interesting, but it sounds like it might be some of the... I don't think I particularly care for what it sounds like the way Kojima has executed it this time around. But I didn't particularly care for a lot of his execution in whatchamacallit? What's that game called?
Metal Gear Solid
5.
Yeah.
Phantom Pain.
Phantom
I like the gameplay of Phantom Pain a lot, and I didn't like a lot of the story execution stuff. And I think I wouldn't particularly care for the gameplay of whatchamacallit, this game, Death Stranding, and it seems like I wouldn't care for the presentation as well, but I don't know. It sounds like the themes are really interesting. It sounds like there's a lot of interesting character work. I shouldn't say interesting character work going on. Pretty much only interesting thematic work going on. That being said, I've seen dissenting opinions because I've seen people who don't like it, and I also watched Noah Campbell-Gervais did a video on it. Someone who is not familiar with any of Kojima's prior work just did a video on this one, and he found it pretty interesting, and at minimum, he outlined the themes in a way that I found to be interesting to listen to, but I don't know if that would translate to me enjoying the actual content of the game. There's plenty of things that I enjoy thematically or think are thematically interesting that I'm not necessarily super jazzed about their content, you know what I mean?
Let's see. Okay, Pizza Lord. Wait, Reznov was in World at War and Black Ops?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone forgets that he was in Black Ops. I mean, was in World at War.
Well, it's one way or the other. No, it's like people either only played Black Ops or they only played World at War, and they don't know that he
played Black Ops.
Plenty of people played World at War. You got to remember that was like the follow-up to Modern Warfare, dude. It was a big deal.
I mean,
Modern Warfare had just become the biggest game in the world.
I'm just saying that Black Ops.
Black Ops is bigger, absolutely, yes. No, Reznov is a soldier during World War II times in the Red Army, and then he also appears in the first Black Ops game. He kind of functions similarly to... I shouldn't say he functions similarly to Captain Price, because Captain Price is a time-leaping wizard in the Infinity Ward games, whereas Reznov is technically one character. And World at War technically takes place in the continuity of Black Ops, not that it really matters, because World at War attempts to be... I shouldn't say it attempts to be realistic, but I should say that it is like... It doesn't take place in the Pulp Fiction fantasy world of the Black Ops games. It's kind of a World War II. I mean, it is a World War II game, but it's not like it's a World War II game. And Blackout is not a Cold War game. Sorry, no, Black Ops. Black Ops is not a Cold War game. It's an insane war game.
It's an insane game. Oh man, all the Black Ops are insane. I still don't understand anything that's happening in any of those. So let's see.
Dumb to dumb.
Dumb to dumb.
Yep, dead.
Where are we going? Let's see.
Yeah, Videosity one says whatchamacallit, Back to the Future time travel is the problem and the solution. Well,
yeah.
Understand that when I say there's a difference between problem and solution is that specifically yes, it is, but usually when time travel is the problem, it's usually the solution as well, unless it's something like Terminator where just something time travels into the scene and
yeah.
I mean, I don't even mean survive. I just mean like that the problem appears in a time period and that's it. But most of the time, if something is also the problem, it's usually it's hard to explain. But no, you're right. It is. It's both. In most good time travel stories, it is both. And I think that's the most important thing is that if you do it, it has to be actually a part of your story instead of just something that's stapled onto it because you wanted to have a scene or bring a character back or cheat or whatever else. That's the main thing.
And that's the thing. It feels like some things are cheating.
That's when people get upset with time travel. It's usually because they feel that the narrative, whether consciously or subconsciously, they feel that the narrative is cheating. That's usually where the problems come
Rainy
from.
Heart, I like time travel in Gravity Falls, where it was like a side plot, but later on it also got integrated into the main story. Yes, I mean I would say it was pretty good.
I would say that within the context of the one, like I'm thinking about the first time travel episode, which is the one where they try to...
Lyndon Blanchard or whatever his name is.
Oh, sure, that. I'm thinking specifically the episode where they're like trying to fix Seuss's birthday or whatever.
Oh yeah, that one too.
There's also the pig one. I would say that those episodes are the time travel is the problem or time travel is the solution, right? It's not just done because they wanted to do some fan service thing. It's usually like the point is that those episodes are not like episodes that have time travel in them. They are time travel episodes, right? They are stories about time travel.
More Hitoshi Sakamoto music. It's great. Oh, speak up a little bit. Sorry, I'm not near the mic. I'm just reading the questions. I'm not important, Linus, you see.
All he's doing is reading the questions.
I'm not important. I'm over there playing Mountain Blade 2 and putting way too much time into it right now because my school's canceled for the week. Let's see. Use dumb.
Yikes. I'm not doing well, but that's okay.
Just go SMG. That's you never.
I was going SMG before.
Let's see. It's funny, Camille. As someone who was really disappointed with the sequel trilogy and liked the prequel ones more, I know for sure it's due to the nostalgia and the memes. I'd say that's fair. I think there are disappointing qualities to both of them, personally.
Yeah. To be clear, because you guys are going to hear some things in videos upcoming where I talk positively about the Star Wars sequels, and most of them were recorded before Rise of Skywalker came out.
Oh my god. I'm honestly, I like.
I don't think I've ever seen a more cowardly film than The Rise of Skywalker.
It's like, I feel like if you're going to be brave enough to make a lot of the choices they made in Last Jedi, for better and for worse, I'll say. I like that movie personally, but it made a lot of decisions that sucked. But, I mean, if you're going to be brave enough to make that movie, you don't just renege on everything that movie...
People say it's specifically because of the lack of planning or whatever, and again, I'll state that my whole thing is, like, the only trilogy in Star Wars that was planned out ahead of time is the one where you can cut one of the movies and it doesn't affect anything, and the characterization for Anakin completely changes between each film, even though he's the main character. And the original Star Wars trilogy wasn't planned out at all, and it just kind of happened to be perfect. That's the whole problem with Star Wars in general, is it was lightning in a bottle, and it's never going to be as good as it was, and people's expectations are too high. And I mean, I say that with regards to the prequels too, because I don't like them, but people judge them way too harshly. People are very mean to the people who were involved in those films and treat them unfairly.
Penguin dude, and the truth about Nominee never really came up ever.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It was just a thing to put in the secret ending to make.
It wasn't a secret ending. It was a random cutscene in the middle of days.
My bad.
It's a random cutscene in smack dab in the middle of days that never went anywhere.
Dumb. Oh, did it skip me to the end? It did.
I don't know, Josh.
Son of a gun. Dumb. Where are we? Oh, there we go. Past it.
That was interesting. I just, oh my, Shinderude, that guy. Well, no, I shot at a guy in one life, I died, and then I respawned directly behind him as he animated ragdolling. So I didn't do the kill, but it kind of looked like I did. That was funny.
I am not 10 minutes behind in chat. I'm only like 5 minutes behind in chat. How dare you? Yossi won. I take great offense to that. Let's see. I'm catching up. Okay. We're almost back. Christian Lopez, what are your thoughts on Dragon Quest XI? I know you already went over this in the video.
I haven't finished it. I enjoyed what I played of it. I haven't beaten it, and I don't know when I will.
I mean, I think most of those types of JRPGs, I think Donkey says it in his video, even though he's not a JRPG person, which is they tend to get grindy in the second half, and that's about where I got to, was the grindy second half, at which point I was, like, burned out, because I had already spent, like, probably 40 hours on it. That's just me, though. I really enjoyed what I played. The writing was a lot better than any of the... I mean, I think the writing in 15 was pretty good, but, I mean, I've been used to Kingdom Hearts games for a while here, and the writing was just refreshingly simple.
The characters were endearing. It was straightforward. You didn't feel like they were really wasting your time when they were just prattling on about nonsense for hours. They were just like, what do we have to do next? We have to go to this location and get this thing. Got it. Let's go.
Yeah.
I assume that's what you mean when you say that. But yeah, I said pretty much everything that I can think to say about that game in my top 10 games of 2018, my top games of 2018 video.
Victor, I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. I'm not going to try your last name. I think it's Brazilian, but I'm not going to try it.
Where?
Right here.
We watched Star Wars Rebels. There's a really good time travel episode. That one is, I would say, mostly there for kind of the reasons I talk about that are a problem. That it's there for fan service. It's there to get a character back who was dead, but it's probably a good thing they got that character back.
It would have probably been bad if they had not gotten that character back.
Probably would have been a major mistake if they hadn't gotten that character back.
Yeah.
I haven't watched all of Rebels. I watched like the first season and a half, and I was like, I'm just not feeling this. And I checked in every now and then for the major plot developments because I cared enough to just kind of be curious about how they were handling it, but I really did not watch it consistently because I just didn't care. It never really grabbed me. I was not really into any. I didn't really like any of the characters. I had a problem that Clone Wars didn't. I think I've talked about this previously, which is that, like, in Clone Wars, you have... Quiet, you. In Clone Wars, you have, you know, an army of hundreds of good guy soldiers and plenty of disposable, like, you know, 1 or 2 episode characters and Jedi who can die, and it's like, okay. Rebels has a cast of 4, and none of them can die, which means that all of the combat in that is them getting shot at by 300 people and not getting hit.
And maybe they get grazed and they're like, ugh.
That doesn't even happen.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of reasons why I didn't like Rebels, but I was never.
At someone, they steal stormtrooper.
They bonk a guy on the head and they steal a stormtrooper uniform. And they never cut. And Ezra's like, okay, I got a lightsaber here, but I'm gonna stun the guy instead because I can't kill anybody.
And then in other episodes,
these rebels don't kill people,
and then the next
except for all those
like...
guys that they killed.
But yeah, people are talking about, we're back up to where we were talking about Rise of Skywalker. That movie was, both of us, we walked out of the theater and we both looked at each other and like we both gave our ratings. Jacob's was a 5 and mine was a 6 at the time. It's probably dropped to a 5 as well. And we were both just like, I feel nothing.
I think that there were scenes and sequences in that movie that I enjoyed. There were like, you know, bits in it. They were like, oh, this is some kind of fun adventure-y stuff. I think my favorite part in that movie was when the
first hour I kind of enjoyed.
I think my favorite part of that movie was when they fell in the quicksand and they were just hanging out in the cave. That was cute. It was nice just having some kind of
nice
adventure-y stuff with the characters.
Little character interaction stuff, and then the last hour of that movie. Oh my god. Let's see. Yeah, Rise of Skywalker.
Watching that, I spoke to somebody, a friend of mine who has seen the films, and he said, "Oh no, the Transformers movies are much worse." But my comment was, as someone who's never watched any of the Transformers movies, it felt like what I imagine the Transformers movies feel like. And this guy said, "Oh no, the Transformers is much worse."
Yeah,
but
I would.
It was just non-stop garbage, and it's like you could have taken 6. So I actually worked on a rewrite of Rise of Skywalker, but I kind of got stuck in the 3rd act, and I wasn't quite sure how to handle some specific details, so I didn't wind up finishing it. I'm sure I will at some point, because I'd like to make a video about it. But to me, that movie is like you take like 3 steps out of the MacGuffin hunt. You have just like the first thing they do is they get a message from the spy in the First Order that's like, hey, something really bad's going down. I can't send the whole thing in this coded message. You need to find a record of a secret plan that Palpatine had. You should be able to find a Sith holocron hidden in the only place that, you know, the Empire, you know, didn't go in and clean out was the computer banks, you know, on the down to 2nd Death Star because nobody bothered. So you need to go there, and they go and find a secret Sith holocron that says this is where the evil planet is. And then after that, it's like, oh, well, we just need to get a bunch of ships to go to the evil planet.
Yeah.
They should have skipped the MacGuffin hunt, and so there was time for the characters to talk.
It's too bad, though, because I feel like the MacGuffin hunt was honestly the only part of the movie I really liked.
No, but the
Just 'cause
problem with the
just-
MacGuffin hunt was that there was no time for the characters to talk, because Also, that was also just the editing.
Yeah, no,
One of my
no, when it started in the middle of a chase sequence, I was like,
One of my favorite things about that movie is that every single time they go to a new location, there's a shot of the characters arriving, and then there's a shot of the Knights of Ren being in the distance and following
Not
them.
doing anything.
And then the Knights of Ren don't do anything.
Every single fight at the end.
Every time they go to a new location, they get to the desert planet, we see the Knights of Ren. They're in the asteroid belt hiding, we see the Knights of Ren ship follow them. They get to the World War II city where they're sneaking around, the Knights of Ren walk out of an alley. And then
So dumb.
those shots are like, it's like they exist from an edit of that was how I knew even before, like, there were a bunch of leaks about that movie that were all obviously fake. But like, even sitting in the theater watching the film, I was like, this is not the movie that was shot.
Yeah.
Because like, you can
tell.
as an
You can tell
editor,
scenes are cut out.
as an editor, I have a sense for these things, and I could tell when scenes that were not for the scenes that they were featured in were showing up, and that happened many, many times.
Let's see.
That movie was a big old mess.
Nikhil Kapoor, Rise of Skywalker is what happens when J.J. Abrams actually has to end something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams isn't a screenwriter.
No, he's not.
He's never been a
He's
screenwriter.
an idea guy.
I think
Kind of
he's
in the same way of George Lucas, I would say.
I think that J.J. Abrams is a competent director. I think he's good with actors. I think he's good with the camera. I think he's a bad writer. I kind of always felt that
We
way.
have written a Spider-Man comic.
I mean, he only co-wrote the first Star Trek film, right?
Yeah.
Star Trek
Yeah,
09.
I think so.
And then Kurtzman and whoever that Orsi, the assholes,
Yeah.
they wrote them. And then Star Trek Into Darkness was like a
Who
disaster.
was Beyond?
Simon Pegg co-wrote Beyond with, I believe, who did he
Of course
co-write it
saved
with?
it.
Yeah, no, Simon Pegg wrote. Simon Pegg was one of the main writers on Star Trek Beyond, and then it was directed by like the Fast and Furious guy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Beyond is actually, I really like
Beyond
Star
was
Trek
really
Beyond.
good.
It
I
was
liked
it was a weird movie because it felt like a perfect cross between like the type of like the garbage TNG action movies that are just dumb. It felt like it was towing, like it had enough action on that level, but then it had just enough character work going on to feel like it kind of felt like Wrath of Khan, honestly. It felt more like Wrath of Khan than
And the
Into
Wrath of
Darkness
Khan.
did.
Okay, so Brad P with $10 donation, thank you. Hey Jacob, are you a fan of Metroidvanias? If so, have you ever played Hollow Knight? I know I've asked this before on a previous stream, but it just seems like you missed it. Love your content, sir.
I honestly haven't played a bunch of Metroidvanias, but generally speaking, those types of games I think would stress me out. I know that may sound silly. Joshua's played Hollow Knight, though.
I've played about half of Hollow Knight. I got lost, and I think that's what happens to me on most Metroidvanias, is I get lost at one point. I'm too stubborn to look it up.
This is going poorly for me, boys and girls.
I'm too stubborn to look it up, so I run around for 30 minutes, and then I give up. That's kind of what happened to me on Hollow Knight. I haven't really gone back to it yet. Not that I didn't enjoy it. I was really enjoying it, actually. I played Jedi Fallen Order, too. That's a pretty good Metroidvania. It's kind of, for a 3D Metroidvania, it combines some things with Castlevania.
It's a Souls-like vein. It's
yeah.
a Souls-vania Troid.
Yeah, exactly. It's well done. I really enjoyed that one. Especially when most of the things... I liked that a lot, how many collectibles there were.
I keep muting them, and then they keep getting unmuted. I don't know what's happening.
I really liked all the collectibles. It just made the game seem more populated and fun to me, and I kind of liked that they were almost all cosmetic. I didn't feel like I was going to miss something just by missing one chest. But yeah, I generally like Metroidvanias, even if I'm not very good at them.
Like I said, I can't really speak to it because I haven't played many. Oh yeah, you are playing Metroid Prime. I forgot about that.
That's the thing. See, when I was at school and didn't have any consoles on my crappy school computer, I got an N64 and Dolphin emulator. So I was doing Majora's Mask and...
Oh, that's a radio operator when I spawn in. I'm so not used to playing standard multiplayer in this game. That wasn't somebody on mic. That was a game character on mic.
So
Okay.
Metroid Prime and Majora's Mask were what I was playing a lot of. And I was doing Metroid Prime and got like probably 5 or 6 hours in. I mean, I guess I was probably earlier in that. I was still in the
Somebody glitching.
I was still in the Phendrana drifts.
You tell me people ain't looking like Kanye West like the mother effing glitch?
No. Yeah, I was still in the Phendrana drift, so I was still pretty early on. But I had never beaten Majora's Mask before, and Zelda's one of my favorite series, so I really started getting into that more. So it wasn't that I wasn't enjoying Metroid Prime as much as I was really enjoying Majora's Mask, going back to it. I think I talked about it before. I played it, but never beaten it.
Nikhail Kapoor asks, which era of Star Wars would you want to live in, Jacob? Well, now I'd want to live in the High Republic, because that's the era where I'm least likely to die.
Any era with a stable government, which is never.
Yeah, I mean, because there has to be a war.
Yeah.
I mean, because
About wars in the stars.
there was a pretty big war going on during the Clone Wars period. There was no war happening during the original trilogy, but you're living under a totalitarian regime. And in the new trilogy, people always say that, like, this is a whole other thing. In the new trilogy, basically there's galactic anarchy with the only military that's large enough to do anything, terrorizing everybody.
It's basically a giant PMC killing everyone.
I will say this, because I've seen people like talk about how the sequel trilogy is so redundant, and at least the prequels gave us a good setting, and it's like the Clone Wars setting wasn't
Wars.
interesting until the TV show.
The TV show is that's why I really still the prequels I can't really like that much, because so much of the things that I do enjoy in the prequel movies are only because of the TV show.
Like the aesthetics of the aesthetics of the movies are good.
Yeah.
But it's like when you actually look at the setting of the Star Wars prequels in the context of those movies, it's like, how many locations are there really? Because there's Coruscant, and that's a location. There's Naboo, and that's a location. Then there's a desert called Tatooine with nothing on it. A desert called Geonosis with nothing on it. A water planet with a factory on it. A lava planet, and Utapau, which is like some platforms in a sinkhole.
No, Kashyyyk. Come on.
Kashyyyk, yes, I totally forgot about Kashyyyk, the toy commercial that interrupts the movie so you could have Wookiees in the movie to sell Wookiees.
Oh, God.
I literally forgot about it until you said that, because it doesn't matter.
Maybe it's like a tradition in these movies to have a bunch of pointless characters in the third movie just to sell toys.
Yeah, same thing with
That's
that
what
was
the Knights of Ren were.
No, not just the Knights of Ren, the Stormtrooper defectors. Remember
yeah,
them?
you're right, yeah.
Remember how there was a black girl with a cool costume and a bow and arrow to sell toys?
Okay, let's see.
Oh no, we didn't put any toys in The Last Jedi.
Oh God, no.
We didn't, and then we still tried to. I mean, like, people talk about how the toys didn't sell after The Last Jedi. They just shouldn't have put toys on the shelves. They should have looked at the movie and said, well, we can't do a toy push for this. But they're stupid and they didn't do that.
Everyone's talking about how great Majora's Mask is. The only reason I didn't finish it on my first playthrough was I was playing the 3DS version, and for anyone who is familiar with that version, you know that God, I'm blanking on the boss's name. But the boss for Stone Tower Temple is like broken on the 3DS version, and it's Twinmole. Yeah, it's Twinmole. My bad. But yeah, it's kind of broken on the 3DS version. I remember I was playing through it on a long car trip. That's how I was playing through the back half of Majora's Mask. And I had beaten Great Bay and was on Stone Tower Temple, and I was just already like near getting burned out because I had been playing it non-stop for a while. And yeah, no, it was just when I hit that boss fight and I died like 4 times in a row and like barely landed a hit during the second phase, or third phase, I guess. There are 4 phases in the 3DS version. It's so dumb. But that third phase is like bullcrap, and its hitbox is bullshit. Sorry, it's bad. So I kind of gave the game up because of that. I just rage quit. I was younger at the time too. I was like 14 or 15. But yeah, going back to it, it was really enjoyable. I also beat Undertale when I was at school, so that was great.
But yeah, what I was gonna say is that, like, because if you look at the prequels as the setting of the Clone Wars as it exists in the prequels, it's like an army of disposable clones with no personalities is fighting an army of robots with no personalities for control of a galaxy that doesn't matter because we never see any of it, all run by one guy, and we already know how it's gonna end, so there's no stakes, and it's just silly. And then the Clone Wars came along and took that and made it into an interesting setting by making the clones more interesting, by going into some more detail about that galaxy and actually giving us places and characters to care about. And I think that the sequel trilogy, probably, like, following Last Jedi, I thought there was a great setting for a TV show, which is following the sacrifice of Luke Skywalker. People are inspired to join with the whatchamacallit. Why did he go for me instead of the cluster of 16 guys?
I guess the Resistance.
People
Resistance,
banding together to aid the Resistance, right? In the aftermath of Luke Skywalker's big sacrifice that's going to make waves across the galaxy. But the thing that you would have then is there's no centralized government. There are no armies. There are a bunch of planets that have small militias that don't have nearly enough power to fight the First Order, who, unlike the Empire, which, like, was established government that was trying to control everything. The First Order are a bunch of like crazy fascist assholes who are just trying to burn everything down and kidnap people and indoctrinate them into their military. Like they have no, they don't have established political power. They only have military power. So the idea of a setting that was a complete and total period of anarchy in the Star Wars galaxy, where you have small militias desperately trying to fight against the against this massive military force, and the resistance is trying to organize people into some kind of concentrated cause.
Yeah.
I think that could be a really interesting time period for a TV show.
Then they missed it.
The Last Jedi, sorry, The Rise of Skywalker kind of messes that up. You know how people are like, oh man, The Last Jedi is so disrespectful to Luke Skywalker. You know what was way more disrespectful to Luke Skywalker? Taking his big sacrifice at the ending of The Last Jedi that was supposed to inspire the galaxy to rally behind the Resistance, and then starting the Rise of Skywalker, and it's like, oh, there's like 12 guys here and one ship, and nobody came. So Luke died for nothing.
Yeah.
He didn't die for nothing in the original. He died to inspire the entire galaxy and create and become a larger-than-life legend that he didn't want to be, but that he accepted he had to be.
He let the legend come back to life.
And then their way to correct that was to say, oh, and it didn't work. Oh yeah, dude, the Rise of Skywalker treats Luke so much better.
Oh man. Yeah, Nikhil Kapoor's calling you out.
What did he call me out for?
He said his name terribly. Maybe it was me, but I feel like I said it right because I had a friend in school named Nikhil. So I feel like you said it wrong.
Where?
Right here.
Oh, sorry. Did I say Mikhail or something?
Yes,
Mikhail
I think you
Dudikov. Is that Psych? Mikhail Dudikov?
Yeah, Mikhail Dudikov is Psych. Oh yeah, now people are talking about Knights of the Old Republic.
This is my partner Buster Rhymes.
No, Kashyyyk in Knights of the Old Republic was cool because you had the Shadowlands, which is something that's never come up again, and came up again in Fallen Jedi Order or whatever it's called, Jedi Fallen Order,
Jedi Fallen Man. Jedi has fallen and can't get back up.
Yeah, it came up again and I was like, and also the animals in that are the exact same as the animals that are on Kashyyyk and KOTOR. If you like read the data logs, it's the same names of all the animals, which is really cool. Yeah, it's
this thing.
Oh yeah, I got that on one.
There's a lot going on in this.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think I need that, but I'll keep it in mind for later.
But let's see. Yeah, no, the best part of the prequel trilogy is still the 2003 Clone Wars cell cartoon.
Yes, the Clone
Remember
Wars.
when General Grievous was actually cool?
The Genndy Tartakovsky cartoon is very cool, even if it's not exactly interesting dramatically. It's incredibly well produced.
Yeah.
It's so good. And then the Clone
entire
Wars
sequence of Palpatine getting captured is like.
And then the CGI Clone Wars TV show is actually interesting and tries to make the characters interesting. I would love to see like I think I talked about it on Twitter, like a what if comic of like what if Anakin as he's characterized in the Clone Wars was actually in 3 instead of the weird asshole, and it's like what if he beat Obi-Wan and then immediately killed Palpatine because F that guy. You got how many of my men did you get killed over the course of the last 3 years because you were running this whole war secretly? And now I'm gonna fix everything. And then Padme still dies, but Emperor Anakin gets to raise Luke and Leia. I think that'd be super duper interesting.
Really cool.
Let's see.
And he could lie to Ahsoka and Rex about his involvement in Order 66.
Yeah.
And so they're still friends with him, but then later on they could find out.
Yeah.
I think that'd be real interesting.
Total production. Seems like your opinion on KH3 is very similar to what you think Nomura's opinion is, like how he doesn't care about 3, but about what comes after 3. So do you think the next games could be good?
No. No.
I think that's all we'll say on that one.
No, I can talk about that a bit, because here's the thing. Here's the thing to me. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, you guys. Verum Rex. Oh my gosh. Versus 13. Tokyo Drift. Oh my god. It's giving me goosebumps. I cannot wait to see where the series goes next, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at the legacy of secret ending content in Kingdom Hearts games. Kingdom Hearts 1. Oh my god, some crazy city we've never seen before with guys having these crazy action sequences, rain, a darker tone. These guys are throwing Keyblades at each other and fighting each other. What is happening? How did the world of Kingdom Hearts, which is all, you know, very saturated and colorful, and the enemies aren't really that scary? How are there 2 guys with Keyblades trying to kill each other? I guess technically Riku doesn't have a Keyblade out. He grabs one of Roxas's Keyblades. But you know what I mean? There's someone else with Keyblades that isn't Mickey or Sora. He's holding two of Sora's Keyblades. He's holding Oathkeeper and Oblivion. He's fighting a guy that looks like Riku. Was he blinded by the light inside of Kingdom Hearts? What is this? What is this location, right? And then you get to Kingdom Hearts 2, and it's like, it's cute and Disney, and then that city is 2 rooms. It's 2 rooms. The city's 2 rooms. Okay, so it was the same, and then that city was there for 2 rooms. Okay, let's go to the Birth by Sleep secret ending, right? How did that? Okay, whoa, oh my god. How did the world of Kingdom Hearts get to this state? Yeah. There's guys in armor we've never seen before, like 1,000 Keyblades. These guys are using powers we've never seen before, and they're fighting each other, and there's a guy named, who is this guy with these powers who's making the earth rise up and the surfing on Keyblades, and what's a Keyblade War? Is this the future? Is this the past? What is this even? And then Birth by Sleep is like a normal Kingdom Hearts adventure. And
there's just one crazy scene where you wonder how the hell is he so powerful.
And then
then
in the last 10 minutes of the game, they go to the Keyblade graveyard, and that's it.
Why didn't Aqua shoot that beam at any of the other bosses? I couldn't do that.
And then they go to the Keyblade graveyard at the end. Let's look at my favorite unlockable secret ending in the history of Kingdom Hearts, the secret ending of Dream Drop Distance, where the whole point is Kyrie's gonna do things next time.
Oops.
How did that work out?
Oops.
So who gives a shit if Yozora is around in the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 3? I don't. They'll go to Tokyo for interstitials between the Disney worlds or for 1 second for the ending of the game. And who cares? The last 3 games in the Kingdom Hearts series were all, oh boy, get excited for next time. And then maybe the next game will be get excited for next time. Tell me when something happens. Dream Drop Distance, Coded is get excited for next time. Dream Drop Distance is get excited for next time. Union Cross is get excited for next time. 0.2 is get excited for next time. Kingdom Hearts 3 is get excited for next time. Remind is get excited for next time. Tell me when next time happens, then maybe I'll check in on Kingdom Hearts again.
Again, 2038, I called it. It's gonna happen.
That's the metric, guys. It's not whether or not Yozora is in it, or whether or not there's Versus 13 references. The metric is tell me when something happens.
You know what's funny?
Tell me when events occur.
I realized that 2038 would actually put this at the same amount of time between sequels as Shenmue. Between Shenmue 2 and 3, it'd be the same amount of time.
No, you've made up that number, so it doesn't even matter.
No, it's perfect. People are talking about Papa Nier.
Oh yeah, Nier's getting its remaster. Yeah. Good for them. Oh dear. Is he invisible? Just happened to come out at the exact right second in my blind spot. Boy, guys, I'm just sucking today. I recorded some really good footage last night.
You should just stop then. We're playing another game that requires less.
Nah, I want to play a video game.
Reflexes.
I want to play a video game.
Then play a different one.
Nah, I want to play this one. I don't have much installed on my PS4 right now, actually. There, see, I played a video game.
Sean Boheen, I have a question. Where did the First Order come from? It's kind of just, I think isn't it explained that it's just like a bunch of like the old like oligarchy from the Empire just kind of retreated into the Outer Rim and just started
a bunch of military leaders from the Empire basically just ran away. They just got in the Star Destroyers they had left.
Hitler had gone to Argentina.
They
like
just
all those like conspiracy theories.
They got in their Star Destroyers and they flew away. And then over the course of decades, they wound up amassing more resources, abducting kids and brainwashing them to be part of their massive military. And the Republic basically, and this is, to be clear, none of this is in the movies, and that's bad too. We'll get to that in a second. Basically what happened was the First Order was seen as basically a couple of assholes drifting around in space, and they were basically just going around and hazing unincorporated planets on the Outer Rim. So the Republic, which after basically the New Republic completely dissolved its military and they had like a peacekeeping fleet, and that was it. Other than that, they had no formal military because they were afraid of because they were like, basically they overcorrected in the wake of the Empire. Leia was one of the main people who opposed it and said that they needed a strong military, and then it came out that she was Darth Vader's daughter and she got kicked out of the Senate.
But they were so scared about putting politics in the sequels.
So
that
well,
they
yeah,
didn't
we'll get to that in a
explain
second. So basically, what the reason it's called
I'll be right back.
what happened within the canon of the movies. We'll talk about what happened within the canon of the movies, and then what happened on the actual writing level. What happened in the canon of the movies is Leia was very worried about the First Order, not the least bit because her son was part of the First Order and becoming evil, and so she went to some of her friends in the Republic and said, hey, we really need to do something about this. And basically, the Republic is so gun-shy and has non-aggression pacts and stuff signed, they can't form a military. So basically, she got people in the government to funnel money to her to basically... The reason they're called the Resistance is because formally, even though the Resistance is directly funded by the Republic, they are formally considered to be a, just like a pop-up militia group. That's why when Hux is screaming about the duplicitous Republic funding the Resistance, it's because the Resistance are basically like the Mujahideen, and no, they aren't. It's supposed to be like the Mujahideen, and the Republic was funneling money into them, but in actuality, they're pretending to be an independent thing when they're actually getting funneled money and resources by the Republic. That's what's happening in canon. And then when the Republic is completely destroyed, the only formalized thing sitting around is the Resistance, but oops, they no longer have any funding or, influx of manpower because the Republic is gone. Now, what actually happened on a writing level was two things. Number one, they were concerned about nostalgia, and they wanted to have a group that sounded like the Rebellion fighting a group that sounded like the Empire. So they came up with an excuse to have it both ways, basically. To have there be a rebellion in a world where the New Republic exists. Now, I actually think that what they did was a fairly clever solution. I don't have a problem with the idea of the Republic not having a military and Leia being concerned and running this, like, underground unofficial thing. I don't have a problem with that. The problem is that the people writing the movie were so gun-shy about putting any politics into the film because of the response to politics in the prequels that they didn't explain any of that. The problem with the politics in the prequels is not that politics are inherently boring, it's that the politics have nothing to do with the plot of the prequels. The plot of the prequels is Anakin being tempted to the dark side because he loves Padme, and Palpatine running a secret war. The vast majority of the Senate scenes in the prequels don't have anything to do with advancing the plot of the prequels, and none of the characters that we care about are there because we only have one character in the film who's a senator, and that's Padme, and in Episode 2, she isn't even there for any of the Senate scenes, and we already know that Palpatine is evil, so there's nothing to be engaged with in those scenes. If you'd had a plot about Leia doing backhand deals through the Republic that served to establish the new status quo and explain what was happening, the audience wouldn't have been bored with that. But they were so scared about even any allusion to politics that they didn't write anything into the movie. That's what I think happened anyway. I obviously don't know that. I wasn't there. Because I think that the political landscape that's described in the books and stuff that were released before The Force Awakens is really interesting and makes sense to me, and it sets up something that's plausible and a good premise for that movie, and then you have, oh no, the Republic gets blown up, so now we have a complete and total breakdown and anarchy, and the only powerful military force in the galaxy is the First Order because they're way bigger than was anticipated, and they start overrunning everything. I think that's interesting. The problem is that the movies were so scared of talking about any of that they didn't, and so nobody understood what the hell was going on. And I'm not saying that that's like, well, they should have read the books. I'm saying that the movies suck because they did that. Well, they don't suck, because I still think The Force Awakens is fun, and I think The Last Jedi is interesting. But it was a problem, and they shouldn't have done it. Dead. You dead bitch. You dead. What's the guy? Freaking Rogue Warrior?
Yeah, Rogue
we shouldn't
Warrior.
quote Rogue Warrior
Dick
video game.
Marcinko.
Yeah, Dick Machinko.
Yeah, but,
You stupid dead asshole.
Eric the Dude says, sequel trilogy isn't as bad as people proclaim. Problem, sure, just like the prequels. Still Star Wars. Don't trust people who love the prequels but hate the sequels.
The one thing...
They both have problems.
The main thing that I can't stand is the proclamation that at least the Star Wars prequels feel like Star Wars. They only feel like Star Wars because they've been around for 20 years. So now that's what you think Star Wars feels like, and that's fine. Because things can change. But it's like, if A New Hope had had a full frontal nudity sex scene in it, then that would be what Star Wars feels like. The prequels came out, and they felt the way that they did, and they've been around for 20 years, so they feel like Star Wars, because they are Star Wars. The pitch that they're somehow more faithful to the feeling of the originals than the Rise of than the Force Awakens or The Last Jedi is kind of bonkers, but whatever. Who cares? That's an argument for another day.
There was people were talking about there are some intricacies in the prequels that don't make sense, and just other plot holes and stuff. And Velocity1 said to one of the guys, "Listen, buddy, good guys, bad guys, shoot, use force, roll credits." That's the description of any of the Star Wars movies, really.
Well, not necessarily, because they don't use the Force that much in the original trilogy. The Force basically never comes up, which is how I like it. I kind of hate the Jedi. I think the only context in which I like the Jedi are the original trilogy and like the like that Jedi Fallen Order game, right? Like it's one guy who really can't do very much because he kind of sucks, and the whole universe is out to get him, and there's no Jedi around. Because people complain about, like, oh man, if what's-her-face, if Laura Dern can shoot a spaceship at light speed and kill people, that breaks Star Wars forever. Star Wars has been broken since Obi-Wan looked at some droids and went and pushed them over in The Phantom Menace. Because if you can look at somebody and go and push them over, why don't you go in every fight? When you're fighting Count Dooku, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just use force grab on someone's underwear, give them a wedgie, and then cut them in half? Why don't you throw your lightsaber at somebody, ignite it, and then pull it back to yourself? The way that they made the Force work as this, like, insane superpower in the prequels just, like, completely makes me disinterested in how the Jedi could exist. But you have to do that because the only way that you can do a story about the Jedi in wartime is if they're powerful enough to block 300 shots. Like, all Luke ever did in the originals was he blocked, like, a couple bullets from one guy holding a gun in Return of the Jedi.
And he still got shot?
And he still got shot! And then it's like the Jedi in the prequels, it's like they can stand in, like, in the Clone Wars, because I like the Clone Wars, but the Clone Wars doesn't fix this. You have, like, an army of 200 droids fighting all the clones, and the Jedi's leading the charge, and they're blocking shots coming from 200 robots. It's like, hey, Separatists, program your droids so they have an AI subroutine, where if they see a Jedi, then 10 of them turn and all start shooting at the Jedi. 3 of them point for the head, 3 of them point at the torso, and 3 of them point at the legs, and they all fire in perfect synchronization. Guess what? Jedi's a dead bitch. He can't do anything about that.
Yeah. That's always what I thought. I was like, why don't you just have 2 people on opposite
Just
sides?
have 2 guys shooting him at the same time, and he's dead. He can't do nothing.
No, because then, as Plinkett says, then you can have the screenwriter can get them out of the situation.
I think that when Obi-Wan said an elegant weapon for a more civilized age, I don't think he meant like 15 years ago.
He was basically a samurai before World War II saying that.
Yeah. He was like, yeah, this was the way we used to do things a long time. Like, I mean, whatever. He could still be, like, I think the Jedi could still be around and using...
That's why Luke was sneaking around Cloud City with a gun.
I've mentioned before that I'm working on a rewrite of the Star Wars prequels, and I am, but it's, like, slow going because I got a billion other more important things to work on. But one of the main changes is, like, the Jedi aren't cut out for this. The whole point is that there hasn't been a war in, like, 200 years, but there's no standing military. And so the routine is, oh, well, the Jedi run the military.
Yeah.
But no one in the Jedi is trained for military anymore because it's been 100 years.
Linus with the, I think that's Swedish currency. 100.
Just a little extra show my appreciation for the
Hey,
content you
Connor.
provide.
Connor.
Thank you very much, my guy.
If it's wrong, I apologize, but I think your currency is called Connor.
But no, the main thing that I'm changing in my idea of how the prequel should have gone down is, like, there is no military. The Jedi traditionally run the military, so it's like, oh, well, the Jedi will run the military again. None of them have training. None of them are equipped to fight this war anymore. And since Palpatine runs both sides, he can just keep feeding information to the Separatists, and guess what? Jedi keep dying. So you don't even need Order 66. You can kill, like, 80% of the Jedi population without even doing something stupid.
Yeah. Hey, Josh, Jacob mentioned that you bought Fire Emblem Three Houses. Any thoughts on it? Yeah, I'm a little more than halfway through it. I'm through the big thing that happens, that changes things. I got through that. I'm like a few chapters after that. It's really good. I had been playing it like crazy when I got home after the whole Corona thing hit. So.
But now he's playing Mountain Blade. I'm sure he'll get back to Three Houses soon,
mainly because that's a sequel to a game that I love. So, oh man, Warband is really good, and Bannerlord is shaping up to be even better. So. Yeah, no, Three Houses is really good. They realized that the problem with Fire Emblem and what they were trying to do to it is they were trying to make it Persona without really making it Persona. So they decided, let's just make it Persona, but with Fire Emblem combat. And I'm down. Because I like turn-based combat that's tactical.
I'm sorry we're missing a lot of stuff, guys. There's a lot of people in this stream, and I can only talk I can only respond to so much.
This is mostly a talk in the comments between different people.
What are they arguing about? Tell me what they're arguing about, Joshua.
They're just talking about new trilogy lore. And
oh,
stuff,
okay, gotcha.
Like as you were going through it.
Eric the Dude says, do y'all also get excited for next time when COD is also the exact same experience with slight changes every year? What even is this criticism, lol? Okay, first of all, I don't play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
The last Call of Duty game that I bought was Modern Warfare 2.
That's part of why he's so into this one, is it feels slightly similar to the old one.
And I only have the free version here. I only have the free version here. And I think you're missing... Number one, there's single-player campaigns that have stories in them, my guy. And most of them, I shouldn't say most of them. The ones that I like, Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2, are self-contained. And you have to understand what I mean when I say get excited for next time, is that there are not events that move the story forward or change things for the characters. When I talk about get excited for next time, and stories where nothing happens, it doesn't mean that there's literally nothing occurring in the story, that there aren't characters standing around. It means that there aren't changes to the status quo, people aren't taking actions, and the plot isn't going anywhere. What actually happens in Dream Drop Distance? Sure, on a technical level of what you're watching on the screen, the characters go to worlds and they fight monsters and they get exposition. But no one ever actually takes an action. Who cares? We're not playing the actual game right now. He's in the air, I think. Yeah, there he is.
Shoot him. Shoot him. Shoot him.
No one takes action that alters the status quo or pushes the plot forward. There's a difference. There's events in a story are a very specific thing. It's not just a scene occurring and people talking. Events are when characters take action, take proactive action to move the story forward. Nobody does that. The only attempt at a proactive action in Dream Drop Distance is when they try to possess Sora and it doesn't work. Yeah. Which apparently wouldn't have worked anyway, because apparently when you're half Xehanort, it doesn't matter. Because Larxene and Marluxia, remember, they were going to betray him.
Oh, yeah.
They had their own personalities, and they were talking about doing another coup. So when they possessed Sora, nothing would have happened.
Oh, God, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. The more I think about some of the stuff in KH, the more it breaks. Granted, you could say that about any piece of fiction.
Ooh, now we're getting to the good music.
Oh, I see Eric the Dude corrected himself. Okay, now the goalposts have changed. We're not talking about the stories. COD doesn't have the best story either. I think that Modern Warfare 1 has a great story.
Modern Warfare 1 has...
Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare is a great story.
It has a really good story.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 has an exciting story that isn't particularly interesting or engaging, but it is exciting and fun to consume, and like it's engaging on a visceral level.
I would say it's interesting just because
it's got
it takes place in the U.S., which
a
is
lot of
nothing had done before that.
There are some interesting ideas in Modern Warfare 2. Yes.
Nice.
Not really. I almost died. I got no armor now.
Well, no, but you were reloading as he started shooting at you, so it was about the best you could do.
Crap, guy coming.
Run.
I saw a door swing open. I heard a door swing open.
It might be one of your teammates. I'm not like saying that to...
No, my teammates aren't on top of me. It can't be one of them.
That guy is in the same building. He's just at the other side of it.
Yeah, but it wasn't... No, he's not. He's in a different building.
Oh,
Look on the map.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad.
Or maybe there's a bridge here. Okay, never mind. No, it's... Look, Call of Duty was interesting, and then I stopped playing it when it became uninteresting. There's a video that I recommended during the Kingdom Hearts 3 playthrough on Call of Duty by Noah Cabell-Gervais, and people should probably watch it. Yeah. Call of Duty was interesting, and then it became uninteresting. The first, 4 Call of Duty games are... I shouldn't say that because I don't know anything about Call of Duty 3.
Yeah, me neither.
Call of Duty 1, Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, and I think, to a slightly lesser extent, Call of Duty Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 are all legitimately good games with good, narrative content. I mean, they're not exactly JRPGs with hours-long spanning narratives, but they're good for what...
All right.
Yeah, no, they're good.
Especially for a shooter. I say that like shooters don't a lot of time have good stories, and that's unfair. Ooh,
Damn
perfect.
you!
That's
Damn you!
That's still a pretty good bounty
Well,
contract.
yeah, but I
Easily
lost
go for
all
that.
of my armor there.
I would get off the roof completely. I wouldn't even try to engage this guy. He's got full armor.
I'm busy.
Oh my god.
I'm shooting and looting.
Stop
I am shooting and looting.
Open that chest.
That's what I'm
It had
doing.
no armor.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I
unfortunate.
needed it. I needed armor, and I didn't get it.
Let's see. Yeah, HK says Rogue Warrior is the best game ever. That's fair. Let's see what else we got. $10 donation from Sean Boheen. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Hey Jacob, do you think the final Xehanort battle would be better if you replaced the BGM with the Death Egg theme in Sonic Forces instead of the...
I don't know the Sonic Forces soundtrack, so I can't speak to that, but I'm gonna guess yes.
It's as you put on Twitter. They released a new album for Sonic today. I hear it comes with a game as well.
It wasn't when it came out. It was when they released the instrumental fist bump theme for Sonic Forces.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, ooh yeah. They apparently they're releasing a new Sonic album in the fall, and it's gonna come with a game.
I feel like I'm missing.
So I heard that the soundtrack for Forces wasn't actually that good.
Yeah,
but
I hear
haven't
it wasn't that great.
I haven't listened to it, and Joey says it's all right. So I
Okay.
don't know. So Joey sometimes has incorrect hot takes on Sonic music and has to be reminded of things. So
Didn't he think Seven Rings in Hand was good?
I have no idea. I know that he said he
That
didn't.
song's
I know that he
hot
said he
garbage.
didn't like Rush's soundtrack, and then he listened to it again and realized that he actually did like Rush.
Yeah.
He said that during an LP, and he was
Yeah.
very upset with himself afterwards. He said he committed a crime of passion. It was not premeditated. It was a crime of passion. Where are these sons of guns? I guess they're in that building over there.
HK47 for life says, I prefer riding the Jedi to be skilled swordsmen who occasionally use the Force when absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
I agree. I will agree with that.
I really think the Jedi work best in the scenario of the original trilogy, where it's like a guy and doesn't really know what he's doing, and he's really kind of out of his element and by himself.
Yeah.
And these guys are totally leaving me. They're not going after this bounty target, so I guess I'm out of here too.
Let's see. Yush Kapoor, weird question, favorite snack. Go.
No answer.
No answer?
I don't do favorite anythings.
Tortilla chips. There you go.
Tortilla chips and hummus are good.
Tortilla
Yeah.
chips with or without hummus. Just the amount of salt.
Corn chips.
Oh, the amount of salt. Just give it to me. I'm not unhealthy. I swear.
Pita chips as well with hummus, also good. Pita bread with hummus, also good.
Yeah.
Hummus by itself, sometimes good.
Let's see.
Okay, there's no door over here. Damn you. Ooh, okay. Thank you, my good sir.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm dumb. HK47 for life. Just do what the Mandalorians do and use actual bullets.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really cool premise for for something is like you have some very high technology people fighting people with projectile weapons that are able to succeed for at least a little while because they're not prepared for this group to be using like these super low end weapons. Let's see. Yes, I got the Swedish currency right. Thank you, Linus. Music is getting in my way. I'm trying to find chat, and I'm dumb. I can play the game while you look for chat if you want.
What? Don't understand what you just said to me.
I'm just saying, I can't find anything. My brain is not working.
I mean, people may not be saying anything
okay.
when they respond to it.
So who do you guys want to see in Smash? Go. You go first.
Layton was my pick for forever, but he would use a sword, and now there are too many sword characters, so I can admit that despite my personal feelings about having Professor Layton in Smash, it would probably not be the best for roster variety. Next after that, then would probably be Dante. Also uses a sword, but on top of using a sword,
He uses a motorcycle.
Uses like 300 other weapons.
Oh,
so Dante has a built-in moveset variety.
Simon Sirac, also with 100 kroner, would also like to donate to thank you
very
for the
much.
awesome content.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see. Who do I want to see in Smash? Well, I'm trying to think. There's no one I really want. I think Master Chief would be cool just because it's Master Chief.
I would love to. Master Chief would be neat to have in Smash.
Yeah.
And no objections to Master Chief.
It's not that I even have like a huge. I'm not a huge Halo guy, but it would just be really cool.
If you want like the big icons of gaming.
Yeah.
Master Chief and Doom guy, and that's again variety. It'd be neat to have in the game. And if we want it, like we got Banjo Kazooie in there,
yeah.
and we got freaking Joker from Persona in there. We don't have a ton of like cross-brand like amazing, super duper cool things, but that would be a cool one to get.
I think Rayman has been one of mine for a while. Just because I feel like it makes sense too. Like I like to come up with ones that I think are plausible at least. Well, I mean, I guess now with this new one, it's pretty clear that anything is plausible after some of the polls they've made. But I feel like Rayman's really plausible with the chummy relationship between Ubisoft and Nintendo.
Their choice to go ahead and give the kind of the unceremonial announcement of, oh, it's going to be ARMS, was very smart.
Yeah, it was.
Because that means nobody's going to be disappointed,
after
and then they
were
can
probably like, oh crap, I guess we should get rid of that pre-rendered trailer we had for ARMS, man.
They'll probably still do it, but then they'll be able to follow it up later on in that presentation that would have been at E3 with an announcement of the next character who will come out later, but it'll, still excite people, hopefully.
J-Dog says, I want Sora to be in Smash, prepares for the backlash.
I don't have a problem with Sora being
me
in
neither.
Smash. It's just that I don't think it'll happen.
It's also, you see those comments from people who are like, oh man, Sora being in Smash would be way bigger than Master Chief. And I'm like, okay.
Yes.
When Master Chief is probably like, I would say top 5 icons in gaming, and Sora's probably, I don't know, top 15.
Look, I mean, Sora would be cool to have in
Sora would be
Smash.
really
I just
cool.
don't think, personally don't think it's going to happen.
He's
That's
already
all.
in Super Smash Flash 2. I'll go ahead and say that.
I don't think, well, Goku's also in Super Smash
Yeah.
Flash 2, and I don't think that's
also
not enough for people.
I think Sora's bottom tier in Super Smash Flash 2.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he's literally last. So that's kind of funny.
It's probably too, like, his moveset is too closely based on the original, so he moves weird, probably. Everybody else in Super Smash Flash is based on a fighting game moveset.
Victor asks, do you read superhero comics?
Not really. I own some issues of Ultimate Spider-Man, but other than that, I'm not really a comic book guy. I guess technically I do have the Kingdom Hearts manga, and I read Attack on Titan, which is a comic book, though not a superhero comic book.
Yeah.
There's probably been a new chapter of that. I should go. I need to go see if there's a new chapter of Attack on Titan out.
Let's see.
They're getting ready for a really big fight in the last one.
Super Anxiety says Spec Ops
kill
The
some
Line
people.
is one of the best shooters in terms of story. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the best. For
Its
sure.
primary function was storytelling. That was its primary intent, was to tell a particular story.
Noreg asks, what are the biggest games from your childhoods? Mine are Star Wars Battlefront 2, KH2, and DBZ BT3. What would you say, Jacob?
I don't really have a good answer for that.
Lego
honestly.
Island 2. That's your answer.
It's an answer. I don't know if it's the answer.
I mean, it's not the answer. He listed 3 games. Come on with something.
I don't know.
Lego Star Wars 1 is what Videosity 1 said. I would say Lego Star Wars 2, just because that one's a lot better in my opinion. I don't know. I like the levels a lot more in Lego Star Wars 2, but that's definitely on my list. Let's see. I'll try to come up with some for this. Honestly, Valkyria Chronicles is up there. I didn't play it till I was like 12, but it was still probably really... It was important in my development and how I saw games. Chrono Trigger is huge. And the Layton games, I would say.
You guys gotta understand, I didn't play a ton of games when I was younger.
He didn't really play games until he was probably like 9 or 10. Like
Older than that. I
wasn't.
I
When we
wasn't.
got our GameCube.
I got a GameCube around that age, yes, but it was really not a primary. Video games were not a primary focus of my life until like the mid 2010s, honestly.
I mean, not mid 2010s.
Mid 2000s. Sorry, I
I was about to
misspoke.
say,
I misspoke.
like,
I apologize.
dang.
I didn't get serious into video games until like a year or two after the Wii came out.
Yeah. Also, TTYD, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door.
Paper Mario Thousand Year Door,
That's a
sure.
huge one.
That can go down as a childhood game fairly.
Yeah. Trying to think what else. I would say Sonic Adventure 2 just for the meme, but I think actually
Yeah,
that
no,
one
that
is
was a
important to
sure.
us.
I played that a lot when I was a kid. I don't think that's necessarily inaccurate to put there.
Victor also asks, are you watching the new season of Clone Wars?
No, not yet. I will watch that.
I
at
have
some-
not caught up, so there's no point.
Yeah, and neither of us watched the season that was Netflix.
Yeah.
Which is
We don't
on
have
which is
Netflix,
well, no,
so-
no. I mean, to be clear, it's on Disney Plus
Yeah, you're
now,
right,
so
my
we
bad.
could go watch it. But that's something that will be done eventually, but hasn't been done yet. I was actually thinking about making a video about the Clone Wars at some point, but not that's later. Too many things to do. There we
Question
go.
for Jacob. I get you don't like the story past DDD, and you said it's no story because
For the
you think
record,
it's
I like
bad.
the 0.2 well enough.
Yeah.
That game actually feels like it has forward progression. It only becomes stupid because its forward progression is antiquated by KH3 itself.
And then he said and sometimes
Sorry, go
you
ahead,
say
continue.
it has no story. But that's not the same as saying it has no story as saying it has a bad story. How would you change it?
So read that again.
I get you don't like the story past DDD, and you say it's no story because you think it's bad. But
No,
that's
no.
not the same.
I don't say it's no story because I think it's bad. Something can have a bad story, and still have story. No story and no story is its own thing. I didn't stick it. Crap.
And he was asking how would you change it.
It's
Kind of a loaded question.
It's hard to say because the problem is that there's nothing to change. The specific problem that Kingdom Hearts has is that nothing happens, is that there isn't forward progression or events, so it's not like I can change stuff. I'd have to invent stuff.
Yeah. That's a story. That's a. I feel like that's a topic. For
Here's
for a
look
different
look.
format.
Here's what you need to. When I say that stuff doesn't happen, let's examine Back to the Future, right? Okay, so we establish there is a town called Hill Valley that Marty McFly lives in. He doesn't really have a good family life. His family's kind of a bunch of pieces of crap. His dream of, possibly playing music doesn't seem to be going so well. These things develop, right? The first 20 minutes or so of that movie, probably, I don't know how long. All these things, when we're saying this is where he lives and this is what his life is like, that's not events. That's establishing. And that's fine because that's what you have to do at the beginning of a story. You have to tell the audience what's going on. The audience has to have an understanding of what the story is before it can, before you can have things occur. Oh, didn't make it.
Didn't even come for you. Damn.
And no, there was a guy behind me. It was a
Yeah,
good thing he
fair.
didn't come for me. I was just trying to get to cover.
No,
He
you-
could have
you
gotten me
still have
after the
to-
firefight was
they-
over.
They
I know.
both have enough money. And
Anyway,
the gulag.
hold on a second. Hold on, let me focus on this
Yeah,
really
let's
fast,
do
guys, then
this.
I'll answer your question. I'll finish answering the question, I mean.
Nice.
Crap.
You're good. Nice.
That wasn't great, but that was all right.
No, that was
Okay,
pretty good.
no,
He
so
never even saw you.
All right, so here's where the events happen in Back to the Future, okay? Doc Brown is shot by the Bolivians.
It's
That
the
changes...
Libyans.
What, the Libyans?
The Libyans.
Oh, whatever. Who cares?
The
Same difference.
Bolivians are fine.
Wait, hold on, where am I going? I need
No
to...
hate
They're
against
both
the
they're both
Bolivians.
dead, but they're in the gulag.
I would go someplace with I do a scavenger mission to get the money and also get drops.
I don't know where people are gonna be.
I don't know where people are going to be either, but I think it's your best shot. Or go for a loadout drop, and I don't see any.
No, hold on. There's a guy in that building. He'd see me if I went there.
Then there you go. Go for one of the other ones. Yeah, you can go in the top here. That's smart. Perfect.
The first major event, you could say, you could argue that introducing the DeLorean is also still establishing, but it does change what the movie is. Because so far the movie has been one thing, and now, okay, now Marty's life has been altered somehow. Now a time machine has been introduced. Next major change, Doc Brown dies. And Marty goes back to the past. Now, what is happening in the story and where we are and what's going on is a completely different ballgame. Marty going back into the past is an event. Now, granted, it's enforced upon him, not an action that he took, so that's another thing we can get to in a second. But there are plenty of stories that are reactionary, but
Those people are going for kills
Dude, who
in the
cares?
cars.
Who cares? It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I'm just saying
not-
they're doing their freaking donuts trying to get people. Oh crap.
We're not doing well. He's dead.
Yeah,
I'm
he
not
just
gonna
got
be able.
shot out of the sky.
I'm not gonna get enough money.
Got that
It's
heartbeat
it's all
sensor.
over. Where was
Never
it?
mind. It's right in there. Yeah. Okay, I'll get back to this now.
Hold on, I'm still answering the last
Okay.
question at this point.
I wouldn't shoot at them.
I got nothing else to do, my guy.
I guess, yeah. He didn't have any shield or armor, I guess. That's made it sound like I play Fortnite. Oh, God. They're calling in an airstrike. Watch out. Nice. Yeah, just get out of there.
Why did he get away from me? Where'd he go?
He ducked in a He ducked in a
There's
tree.
no building.
He ducked in a tree. Just make sure he doesn't.
Marty goes back to the past. That alters the status quo that's been established into the story. That's an event. From there, choices have to be made. Okay, well, no, first of all, he takes up more events. He makes a choice that alters the past. His dad was supposed to fall out of the tree, get hurt. Elaine was supposed to fall in love with him. That doesn't happen anymore. Now he has caused an event that is actively altering the course of the story
pretty
through
good
his
round.
own actions,
That was
right?
Pretty good round.
Moving forward from there, Marty finds Doc Brown. They talk about what they have to do. This is still expository. This is them deciding what needs to happen next. But okay, now we realize that there's a crisis, which is that Marty is being erased from existence. So now we have to start taking action. So the actions that have to be taken. Got to go to school, try and get the mom into George. Throughout this whole sequence, there's a problem that has to be solved, and the characters continue to try and do things to solve that problem. They keep taking proactive action throughout the story to try and solve the problem of Marty's gonna disappear if we don't get his parents together, right? And everything from there is them trying to do it, plan not working. Okay, what's next? Try something else, plan doesn't work. Oh, it kind of works, but it has a side effect. Biff is mad now, you know, whatever else, right? Things keep happening that change what's going on in the story. Now let's examine Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. We are told, Sora and Riku, you have to get the Mark of Mastery because you need it to help people. Okay, in the first place, that's not exactly a very high-stakes scenario, but whatever. We'll disregard that particular detail, right? Because it's not that important. Who cares? We'll disregard the fact that's not particularly exciting, and we'll just move forward with our lives. What happens from there? Well, they go into the sleeping worlds, and they seal the keyholes, and they wake the worlds up, and nothing happens until the ending of the game. So, okay, we are told what's going to happen in the first 5 minutes of the game, and then that's what happens for the next 25 hours. So that's not great. We then get to the ending where characters tell us that things have happened off-screen, that Xehanort has time-traveled off-screen and accomplished missions off-screen. So far, nothing has happened yet. This is still exposition. And then they say, we're going to put a Xehanort heart into Sora, and they don't. So still nothing has happened. Sora has been knocked out. Riku saves him. That's kind of an action, but it restores us to the status quo of where we already were, which is Sora is fine. Hence, all that happened in Dream Drop Distance that had an effect on the next game is we were told that the Xehanorts will do something next time. Hence, no events occurred. That's the issue.
Cool.
I can talk about it more.
Oh, it went to the bottom. Give me a minute. Now we're very behind. This is the perfect music to catch up. The prepare for the heist music. Allison Watts asks, do you have a plan for after Gravity Rush yet?
Streaming, hardcore, Titanfall 2, a couple of other things I've been thinking about. No announcements at this time, because I'll announce it, and then the plan will change, and people will say what happened, so we'll announce when it's happening. But no, let's look at Kingdom Hearts 3. And no, you know, actually, first of all, because this is in microcosm, right?
I'm sorry. I'd love to see Kirby in Smash. Finally, a good indie rep as a character.
So here's a good example. Let's look at the plot of Tangled and the plot of Tangled World on Kingdom Hearts 3, right? Tangled. Rapunzel meets Eugene. Eugene breaks into her tower. She blackmails him. I'll give you the tiara if you take me to town to see the lanterns, right? Okay, now we have friction. Eugene doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to help this girl. He just wants to get the crown, right?
Yeah.
So he's gonna look at any way to weasel his way out of this. So now we have character friction. The characters want two different things, and this is going to cause action within the story to occur. So Eugene's plan is, I'll scare this girl by taking her to the Snuggly Duckling with all the thugs, right? This will scare her into going back home, and I will have fulfilled my services, and she'll give me the tiara. However, there's a twist when they get there and something unexpected happens, which is the thugs try to accost Eugene, and Rapunzel winds up getting along with them, and they all are inspired by her talk about having a dream. So Eugene takes an action that has one expected outcome. That doesn't happen. Guards show up. They have to run away. There's an action scene where they escape from them. Along the way, in order to save them, Rapunzel has to use her magic powers, which introduces the magic powers to Eugene, and then she explains that to him. They sit down. They have a heart-to-heart at the campfire, where suddenly now, as they're getting to know each other a little bit better, their interests start to align a little bit more. Now Eugene is not so much on the boat of, I need to get rid of this girl. He's now thinking, no, I need to take her to the town. This is important to her. And she's starting to think, this guy isn't just an asshole. There's a little something to him. So now these two are starting to get along. However, Mother Gothel shows up and plants the seeds of doubt in Rapunzel's mind that he's gonna rip her off, right? That he's just lying to her. This is all an act. He's gonna rip her off. Then they go to the town. There's a little bit of a montage of her being happy and doing stuff. A little bit of setups that she'll understand later on that there is a lost princess, so she can identify herself as such. She needs that information for later in the movie. Montage happens. A little cute date stuff happens. Then they go have their scene out on the boat where the characters finally firmly get on the same page. Eugene doesn't care about the tiara. He cares about Rapunzel. Rapunzel cares about what's happening with all the lanterns and stuff. But holy crap, this Eugene, guys, he's pretty hot. He's got a cute butt, guys. And then, unfortunately, conflict comes into the story. Eugene is grabbed by the brothers and thrown on the boat. Mother Gothel uses this opportunity to further manipulate Rapunzel and take her back home, creating a crisis that leads to the climax. So you'll notice that along the way, a series of events happened that continually changed what the characters were trying to do. Eugene was trying to ditch Rapunzel. He attempts to ditch Rapunzel. It doesn't work. They have an action scene, which brings them a bit closer together, gives them an excuse to stop and talk for a little bit. Their emotions towards each other change, right? All kinds of different stuff happens along the way. Here's what happens in Kingdom Hearts 3. Eugene says, we need to get her to town, and there are monsters along the way, so you three help me fight the monsters. Then they go through the woods on their way to town, and they fight monsters, and then they get to town.
Yeah.
In a movie, it would have cut. He would have said, we need to get to town and fight through monsters, and they would have said, okay, we'll help. And then maybe there would have been a montage of them fighting monsters and they would have been at town. Because nothing happened! Gothel shows up and says, hello, I'm Mother Gothel. So now Sora knows who she is.
I think we talked about it, but like, if it wasn't for the dark juices that begin flowing from her, she doesn't look like a bad guy. Because we haven't had any of the...
But I mean, totally besides the point.
Well, yeah, but still.
When Gothel shows up, the plot doesn't move forward. She just says, hi, I'm Rapunzel's mother, do you know where she is? They say no, she leaves. Nothing happened in that scene. It let Sora and Donald and Goofy know who she was, but that's not important exposition, because they won't see her again for the rest of the game, because she dies off screen. Well, not off screen, she dies away from them.
Yeah.
They don't ever see Mother Gothel again.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We skip the heart-to-heart between Eugene and Rapunzel, so they have character development off screen. They introduce Maximilian, who gives them a ride later, but it's really not that important because we never established that Max was chasing Eugene in this version of the story. He mentioned something about a crazy horse, and that was it. We didn't see any scenes with him. And then they get to town, and nothing has happened along the way. Now, from a video game standpoint, that's fine, because in video games, you walk through levels and you complete levels and you do gameplay, and that's the content of video games. Oftentimes, the stuff that's in a video game is the stuff that movies cut around, and that's fine. But that's just a really specific example of what I mean. That's a really easy example of what I mean when I say that nothing happened. There were no events. Nothing altered the course of the story. No events occurred. Status quo was not altered. Character said, we're gonna do this thing, and then the characters did it. If the characters say they're gonna do a thing, and then they do it, and there's no changes and no complications, we don't need to see it. If the characters say, I'm gonna go and... If a character in a movie says, okay, we're gonna go and do this thing, I'm gonna go and pick up, you know, the person that we need, right? We don't need to see that person drive to the guy's house, knock on his door, ask him to get in the car, and drive back, unless he's in a car wreck along the way. You know the scene where Neiman goes to get his drumsticks?
Yeah.
That happens because you need your number one.
Spoilers, oh god.
We won't go into detail.
Don't spoil
There's a
that
scene
scene.
in Whiplash where Neiman realizes that he's left his drumsticks behind. This is a really, really big deal because he cannot afford to screw up this performance that's about to happen. So he leaves in a hurry, and we're really panicked already because he's already in deep shit, and he needs to get his freaking drumsticks, okay? So the scene already exists on some level because every second that he's spending getting the drumsticks is you know, getting him later and later and later. But you could have hypothetically just had like 1 or 2 shots of him getting in the car, driving, a shot of him running into the building, grabbing the drumsticks, turning around, him screeching out of the parking lot, and then you could have cut to him being back in the concert hall and characters going, "Where the hell are you? We're about to go on." Like, you know, like, or you know, maybe they're already on stage, right? Yeah. If the scene was about he gets back too late to be part of the performance and they're already on stage, then you need a shot of him getting in the car, a shot of him driving quickly, a shot of him grabbing the drumsticks, getting back in the car, walking into the concert hall, and then walking into the room and seeing that they're already on. Those are the shots that you need, right?
Yeah.
Something else happens during that scene.
I wonder what it could be. It's really good.
And it makes the scene go on longer because it alters the course of the story, and you need to see it.
That scene was like one of my favorite experiences watching a movie ever. Okay, let's get going. Let's get going.
Rainy Heart asks, is the Attack on Titan manga still going? I heard the final season is coming. Will the anime not complete the story? Remains to be seen. So here's the deal. God, I forget the author's name. He said like 5 years ago that the story was going to be done soon, and then it kept going on. It seems like the final episode of the manga will adapt all that is left of... Sorry, the final season of the anime will adapt all that is left of the manga. There's not... Look, the manga's wrapping up. It could stop at any time. It could go on for another 300 chapters, or it could stop at literally any time right now.
Yosh actually knew. The anime will finish after or during the manga's final.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm about to get there. The final season of the anime is coming out this year. It's coming out sometime. Well, no, who knows? Maybe it won't now with all this whole situation.
Videosity1, you're saying that I'm stuck up because I played Lego Star Wars 2 and said it was better, but no, you're stuck up for assuming I'm stuck up that it's not better.
What?
Okay, so he's saying I'm stuck up, but really he's being the stuck up one because he thinks that by default his experience was better than mine playing Lego Star Wars 2 because it was the one he played.
Okay,
it's very exclusive. I don't approve.
All right.
I really don't know what I just said. It was supposed to be a slick comeback. I'll just leave now.
The Attack on Titan anime is probably going to be in a tight spot because the manga is ongoing, and I assume the author has told the people who make the anime what's going to happen, but quite frankly, they've got a lot of material left to adapt, and I wouldn't be surprised if the last season of the anime is a little bit rushed, or maybe they'll have to do a movie to wrap it up, right? Like they'll do the final season and then they'll do a movie. Gosh, can you flip on one of the lights?
Yeah,
it's starting to get a bit dark in here. Remains to be seen what's going to happen with the final season of Attack on Titan. Rainy Heart. No, I have not played any of the Dragon Age games, J-Dog.
I started playing the first one while I was at school. It's fine. I haven't gotten far
When you said, oh no, I said shields, someone said crossbow. Well, I never knew Joshua was so into Fortnite. Have you passed 1,000 hours yet?
I've passed 1. I played with some friends at one point because they wanted to play it, and it was the only thing they'd play. I downloaded the Switch version for about a day. I won my first match, so what can I say? I'm just that good.
Norway go, Rapunzel. Damn, boy, he thick. That's a thick-ass boy. So, yeah, I saw somebody already responded to this. No Snodgrass asked if I've gone back and played the other KH games yet. No, I'm planning on possibly streaming the PS2 version of KH1 at some point, but that hasn't happened yet.
Hey, Jacob, do you still have your Bionicle figures? Ask for Videosity1.
Oh, I've got plenty of them.
He's got tons.
Rainy Heart, once all this virus stuff is blown over, or you two figure out how to stream with 2 people in separate places, do you think you and Joey will continue FF9? We will finish FF9 at some point. The only reason that, to be clear, the FF9 streams happened because I was sitting on, throughout last year, I was sitting on Dream Drop being mostly unedited, 0 Point Do being unedited, the entirety of Kingdom Hearts 3 being unedited, and stuff like that. So I was like, I don't need to start racking up more footage that I can't do anything with. So when we met to film over the summer of 2019 and into the fall, we decided to stream instead, and we decided to do FF9. Then, when we finally got to the point where I was like, enough of this is done, that I feel comfortable starting to film something new, we started shooting Sonic Adventure and a couple of other things that you'll find out about later. And so since, with that in mind, since Joey and I don't get to meet very often, we haven't had time to stream, because every time we have met, we've been filming.
We're trying to figure out a way to get a mobile recording setup even if it's crap.
Yeah, that's
for-
part of
for
what this. That's
Joey.
part of what the stream is.
'Cause,
But
yeah, no,
it's me running a test.
Yeah, we're testing to see how OBS works, to see if it's compatible with what we're going to try to do with getting him in on the loop if we try to film something with all three of us. Or just them.
Let's see what else we got.
Oh, no Snodgrass. Have you finished Professor Layton in the Azran Legacy yet?
I haven't, no.
Disgusting.
Pits Lord, on a small scale, world-to-world events happen if directly movie-related, but your big problem is the story over multiple games, which, yes, okay, that's a good point. When I say that no events are in Kingdom Hearts games, events happen on the worlds that are adapting Disney movies because events happen in Disney movies.
Yeah.
There are no, like, let's look at structurally everything that happens in Kingdom Hearts 3 that doesn't happen on a Disney world, right? Sora is told, you need to go and get the power of waking, and he goes to Olympus World, and talks to Hercules and fights the bad guys, and there are events there where he fights the Titans and whatnot and helps with that whole situation. He doesn't accomplish much by way of power of waking, but, you know, it's the first 2 hours of the game, so who cares? You know, it's fine. We got plenty of stuff, you know, this is still establishing, we're good.
Yeah, no, I loved the first, like, 5-6 hours of KH3, and then I realized nothing was happening.
From that point forward, here's what happens in Kingdom Hearts 3. They go to Traverse Town, and they say, we should find
Traverse Town.
Twilight Town, and they say...
You KH1 shill.
And they say, we should find information about Roxas.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Eventually, in 30 hours.
Ansem Seeker of Darkness and Xemnas appear, and they say, Sora, you should give into the darkness, that's exactly what we want, and then it never comes up again for the rest of the game. And then after that, after every single Disney world, there is a cutscene where the characters say, hey, we got one new piece of information.
Yep.
And they say it like they're in a freaking boardroom meeting. They're either talking over Skype or they're in Yensid's office and they say, hey, we have one new piece of information. And that's it. Aqua gets turned evil by a Make Her Evil Saturday morning cartoon ray, which negates the events of 0.2 where she, you know...
They make everything evil in Ator.
So,
Poor Carl.
So,
Carl didn't deserve it.
Anyway, so that happens. So that's an event in Kingdom Hearts 3, is Aqua gets turned evil. Now, what does that event lead to? Jack shit. Because she does nothing. She attacks Mickey and Riku and accomplishes nothing, and then Sora turns her good again. So Aqua turning... I guess technically she gave up. You know, having PTSD from being turned evil made her give up, but everybody else died, and they didn't have PTSD either, so you're telling me that Aqua wouldn't have died at the ending with the demons? So her being turned evil led to nothing.
So yeah,
it was an event only contained within the 2 scenes to which it was relevant.
Noah Snodgrass also said, I'm so glad you guys are playing through SA, even though I prefer SA2 despite all of its flaws. I would agree on that.
Well,
I think he agrees on that too.
This is not a major... This is no promise here. We will probably do SA2 at some point. I'm not gonna bother to say that's a secret, but we can't really do SA2 without doing SA1 first. And then after that, like, what other events occur? Okay, we go and fight the Xehanorts, who haven't done anything in the whole game. They haven't taken any actions. Sure, they're gonna blow up the world eventually, but, like, they haven't done anything now. You gotta, because I saw somebody leave a comment about this recently.
Yeah.
Like, Jacob, you're really uptight about the whole Xehanorts haven't done anything. They're evil. They're messing stuff up, right? In a story, you can't leave it at that. You have to show what the villains are doing. The promissory note that the villains will eventually do something is not a good enough motivation for stopping them. Imagine if in Star Wars they didn't blow up Alderaan. They just had this thing, and they didn't... No. Imagine if in the original Star Wars film...
They weren't gonna blow up Yavin?
No. Imagine if in the original... Well, yeah, they weren't
Because
they weren't
that was
gonna
how it
blow up
was in the
Yavin.
original cut.
Imagine if in the original Star Wars film, they didn't kill Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. They didn't kill anybody on the Republic ship. They just arrested all of them. They weren't gonna execute Leia. And they didn't blow up Alderaan.
And then we just go and blow them up.
And then instead of orbiting Yavin 4 and being about to shoot Yavin 4, they're just hanging out in space and we go shoot them and they blow up. Sure, a couple of some of those X-Wing pilots would die along the way in the final fight, but like, still, you know, you want to have a reason to kill the bad guys in a story.
As more of it starts playing, Noah Snodgrass is going, why is LEGO Alpha Team music playing?
Because LEGO Alpha Team has an amazing soundtrack.
It really does.
But
Man,
anyway,
some of those old Lego PC games,
some of them have alright soundtracks.
I'm not saying they're all hidden gems or anything, but they're pretty good. A lot of them are, anyway. That one was like a weird turn-based strategy, right?
Yeah,
Palpatine
kind of.
one?
Well, it wasn't. It was a puzzle game.
It was a puzzle game, yeah. But it was like, I don't know.
It's difficult to explain. It's a weird design. But no. So in Kingdom Hearts 3, it's like, okay, you go to the ending and all the characters die. Oh, but it's undone immediately, so that was nothing. We killed all the villains, but they weren't doing anything, so that was nothing. Xehanort shoots. Xehanort wins. He gets the Keyblade and he shoots Kingdom Hearts, and it doesn't do anything. And then we just stop him.
It's all right. It's all right. Oh God, 6-foot rule. We're all gonna
So like,
die.
what's the?
We've both been here for 3 weeks, by the way. We're not gonna give each other.
So
chronos,
what's
hopefully.
the point? And then in the end, we beat Xehanort, and the only event in Kingdom Hearts 3 is Sora dies. That's the only thing that happens in Kingdom Hearts 3 in terms of actual proactive. The spoiler-free on this episode.
I know. It was a joke.
The only proactive, forward-facing, the only actual action that takes place in Kingdom Hearts 3 is Sora dies. That's it. Nothing else happened in Kingdom Hearts 3. The only thing that happened in Kingdom Hearts 3 happened in the last 3 seconds of a 40-hour-long video game. So that's what I'm talking about when I say nothing happens.
Oh, it went to the bottom again.
I got it.
It's way back up.
No, it's not. We're not.
way
No,
behind.
Josh, we're right here. This is where we are. We just read the question about Azran Legacy, remember? I've been scrolling down.
That's a different question about Azran Legacy.
Okay,
That's the
whatever.
original
All
one.
right, whatever. Shadow Shoveler Production says, with the exception of KH1, every KH game has this problem. It's not just a KH3 exclusive problem, in my opinion. It's not as bad in the other games as it is in KH3, because in KH2, absolutely, there is a severe lack of events
There's
occurring.
a lot of backloading, but there's still the Battle of 1,000 Heartless, and you get a lot of stuff there.
It's some stuff happens there. It's not as event heavy as it really doesn't have that much. You get exposition, but there's not.
Yeah.
It does alter the status quo, but not a lot of actions occur that alter the status quo.
I guess so, but it still feels like a lot of stuff is happening.
That being said, there are events in the Roxas section.
Yeah,
things
that too.
occur in the Roxas section. Kairi gets kidnapped, and that is an event that has an impact on the status quo and the audience's understanding of what's going on. One of my biggest problems with the story of Kingdom Hearts 2 is that, again, Riku and Diz have really interesting arcs that happen predominantly off-screen. If they'd happened on-screen, there could have been events throughout the entire game. We could have had little check-ins on what Diz and Riku are doing, but we had to be mysterious, so it all gets backloaded. Though once you get to the end of the world, the world that never was, I mean, there are events there, and more pressingly specifically to Kingdom Hearts 2. Not only do you have the straightforward Disney adaptations, which do have events in them, and there are more of them, and they come faster than they do in Kingdom Hearts 3, because at least when they're doing movie adaptations in Kingdom Hearts 2, they make minor adjustments to have events occurring. They do stuff to keep the characters involved and keep the plot moving forward. Kingdom Hearts 3, Frozen, you skip like 90% of the movie. Nothing happens in the adaptation of Frozen.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jacob. There was a great
musical
solo.
The only two events that
I've never heard that song before.
Only two events occur in the KH3 version of Frozen. Anna gets shot, which doesn't mean anything to the audience if they haven't seen Frozen, and Anna gets frozen saving Elsa and then comes back. Those are the only two events that occur in the KH3 adaptation of Frozen. There are many events in Frozen, but none of them are depicted in Kingdom Hearts 3. At minimum, in Kingdom Hearts 2, when they're adapting the movies, they take necessary actions to actually have things occurring. And then on top of that, you have some worlds that are original content that overlay with the actual story, at least to some extent. The Beauty and the Beast stuff, and in particular, it's why I love it so much, the Tron stuff, because in the audience's mind, Radiant Garden and Final Fantasy characters registers as main plot. And the final Tron world and the MCP stuff, and they're dumping Heartless into the town we have to save people, that's all stuff. That's stuff that's happening. It may be a subplot, it may be a side quest, but it is an event that's occurring. And at least it's something for the audience to engage with. The main problem with the way that Dream Drop Distance and KH3 adapt their Disney worlds, with the exception of Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., and Big Hero 6, is that they actively remove events from the story by having the vast majority of the things that happen in the story happen off-screen or just not happen at all in the case of Tangled.
Super Anxiety asks, what's y'all's favorite Disney movie minus Treasure Planet?
I can't answer that one, sorry.
That's hard. Mulan's up there for me. That's just, I have a soft spot for
I like Mulan, I like Treasure Planet.
Atlantis is up there. It has flaws, though.
I've only watched Zootopia once, but I was impressed with it when I did watch it.
My favorite Disney movie is Porco Rosso.
Technically distributed by Buena Vista.
Yep, I know. That's how I. That's
Honestly,
why
honestly, I have always really like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
I like Winnie the
Pooh. The original one, the Many Adventures.
The original one and the
new
2011 one are both good.
I will say that might be partially nostalgia because
no, I think they're clever and well done and have beautiful artwork and good voice acting.
I only have nostalgia for one Disney property, and it's Winnie the Pooh.
Gosh, I'm trying to think of classics. I'm drawing a blank on this stuff.
Ratatouille is Pixar.
Ratatouille is Pixar, but if we were counting that, then Ratatouille's on the list.
Well, Incredibles is top of the list.
Ratatouille, Incredibles, and Toy Story 2 are all on the list then, if we're counting Pixar.
Toy Story 3 too, honestly.
I feel bad that I'm not thinking of more classic Disney films immediately off the cuff because I like a lot of them. I saw that once. It was all right. I'm really blanking on classic Disney movies.
I'm more going for the Renaissance films right now.
I know, yeah. Okay, Beauty and the Beast. I like Beauty and the Beast a lot. You haven't seen Beauty and the Beast. We need to watch that.
Not in its entirety.
We need to watch that. I ordered a copy of it ages ago for us to watch. We need to do that sometime.
I'm trying to think.
We should do that this week.
My favorite Renaissance films are probably Aladdin and Mulan.
I do like The Little Mermaid. People have
I'm not.
People in post are like, oh, Ariel is such a horrible person. She just did all that stuff just for a man. But I still like The Little Mermaid just fine.
It's a good movie. It's just not my favorite.
Yeah, I still haven't played Azran Legacy. Joshua doesn't like it.
It's the weakest, besides Last Spectre. It's the second weakest. After the conclusion that was Unwound Future, I think my expectations might have been a little too high because this was so far below that it kind of blew my mind.
Unwound Future is staggeringly good.
That is such a great conclusion to a trilogy. That might be the only. You know how we were talking about before there are no good endings to trilogies? Kind of as a joke we were saying it. I feel like that might be the best ending to a trilogy.
Apparently, if you ignore Shrek the Third, apparently the fourth Shrek movie is a good conclusion.
I mean, I've only ever watched Shafrillis' video.
I didn't know that it was good until I watched this video. Apparently, he likes it.
And he usually has good opinions on such things.
Zach Threetoe. Nomura shrouds his villains in so much mystery that you end up ignoring their plot because they basically don't have one. Precisely.
You just hit the nail on the head, my friend.
Look, if I had to say one sentence to sum up everything that is wrong with Dream Drop Distance, it is, I sure learned a lot about Master Xehanort's plan in Dream Drop Distance, but I didn't learn a thing about Master Xehanort.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, right? People are like, oh boy, I'm so excited for the next Kingdom Hearts game. I'm not, because I don't know anything about the Master of Masters. He's charismatic. I like the way that Ray Chase plays him, and he has some good jokes in back cover. But it's like, what does he want? I don't know. In Remind, they make fun of you for asking the question. Young Xehanort goes, what is it that you want? And he goes, oh, it
doesn't really matter.
No, that's not what he says. He says, I could tell you that I'm a fortune teller or a scholar. I could tell you that I want world peace when I'm actually plotting its destruction. You can't believe what you hear with your ears and what people say, only what you see with your eyes.
So basically, please be wait for KH.
Please be wait! Please be wait.
I'm so glad
Jacob, what are you talking about? That nothing happened and that every game is just wait for the next game.
I'm so mad.
Please be wait.
I'm so happy I didn't play Rewind.
Please be excited for villain you don't know anything about. And to be completely fair, as a point of reference, because it's a similar thing, this is why nobody gave a shit about Thanos until Infinity War.
Yeah.
Because they teased him, and it's like, if you haven't read the comics, then it's just some guy. It's just a purple. It's just a purple guy. He's got a fist.
He punches things.
He's got a gauntlet that he puts on. What's his deal? Everybody saw those Marvel movies. Everybody saw the Avengers. It made $1 bajillion, right? If you'd asked anybody in the world who wasn't a comic book fan who Thanos was before before Infinity War, nobody would have known. He's actually factors into the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy. And nobody could have answered who he was.
He was like a minor player in that
movie.
Maybe
somebody.
I'm guessing not many people noticed.
Somebody might have remembered. Is that the guy that Gamora and Nebula are? That's like their father or whatever?
Yeah.
Somebody might have been able to come to that. But until Thanos showed up and explained what he was all about, nobody cared about him. Nobody cared who I was until I put on the mask.
Oni Max Blade, I had a Lego chess game. So did we.
Lego chess game
is a really good game.
It's
just chess.
No, it's just a chess game, but it does a good job of teaching kids the basics of chess.
Yeah.
It's got some cute little FMVs and animations in it.
And I had to make our dad beat it for us. Because I sucked at chess back then. I still suck now, but I'm better. I can beat other idiots like me. Let's see.
Crossburn says, but Jacob, Xehanort died again. 2. Yeah, but let's put it this way, right? He came back and then did nothing. Xehanort came back at the ending of Coded, right? What did he do before he died? So his death doesn't matter.
Oops.
His plan failed and he died, and who cares? He's gone now.
Oops.
Sure, yes. I mean, I'm being, to be fair, I'm being a little bit unfair. I could probably be more generous about specific events occurring, and sure, Xehanort dying was an event that altered the status quo, absolutely. That's fair. Xehanort being gone did alter the status quo in Kingdom Hearts 3. But as it stands, that still means that the only things that happened in Kingdom Hearts 3 happened in the last 10 minutes, and it was Xehanort died and Sora died. So, like, okay, whatever. It's just... And Sora didn't die. He's back. He's fine. And Xehanort's getting a mobile game. So who cares? My favorite thing is the tagline for this new mobile game, The Dark Road, is like, why did he become the Seeker of Darkness? You're gonna tell me? No, not even that. Not even that he wasn't the Seeker of Darkness. You're gonna tell me?
That was the whole point.
You're gonna explain his motivation and character and who he is now that he's gone?
Yeah.
There was an interview quote with
Tetsuya.
There was an interview quote with Tetsuya Nomura before Kingdom Hearts 3 came out where he was like, "Oh, we would have explored, you know, we had ideas of how we wanted to explore Xehanort's character more and get into who he was, but if we had done that, the Xehanort saga would not have ended with Kingdom Hearts 3, laughs in brackets. So unfortunately, we had to cut a lot of that stuff." The final game with Xehanort, we didn't have time to tell the audience why they should give a shit about Xehanort, so we had to cut it. There wasn't time for it. There was no time in Kingdom Hearts 3.
You just hit the mic.
I know I did.
That was the funniest thing I've ever heard.
There was no time in Kingdom Hearts 3 to tell the audience about the antagonist.
Oh, God.
So we'll put it in the mobile game after he's dead.
Oh, God. Whenever something like that happens, I just think of Rich Evans screaming, "Oh my God." Let's see. What order would you rank the Uncharted games from least favorite to favorite?
Ask Olam Noruega. I think it's probably 2, 4, 3, 1.
For me, it's 4, 2, 3, 1. But
2 and 4 are probably tied, and I haven't played Lost Legacy yet.
I'm not gonna lie. A lot of it for me with 4 is just because in its original form, the shooting is a lot tighter.
I also technically have not played the original. I've only watched it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would probably change my ranking.
No.
There is a power gap between 1 and 2. Sorry, between 1 and 3
1
and 2 and 4.
Yeah.
There's a power gap between those games.
It's like 4 and 2, you pick the order, and then it's like 3, and then 1 is like...
Victor notes...
1 is down in the Shadow Realm.
Victor notes that Drax says Thanos is responsible for his family's death. Yeah, but again, that's my point, is like, that's the extent of Thanos' involvement in those films, and most people didn't... It's not something that they're immediately processing, you know?
Crossburn. I only knew Thanos was because he was in a Marvel crossover with a board game from 2004. I think I know what board game you're talking about.
You're talking about a Heroescape, probably.
Yeah.
He was a piece in Heroescape.
We might have had that too.
I might have had a lot of Heroescape. Heroescape's awesome.
Heroescape was great, dude. And yeah, that would have been around 2004. Yeah.
So Noah Snodgrass says, technically Black Widow's origin is being explored after she's gone, kind of like Xeno, but Marvel works way better than KH. Let's be clear about this. Going back and making a prequel after somebody is dead isn't a problem. The inherent concept of going back and making a movie about Anakin Skywalker after Darth Vader is dead isn't a problem. The problem is that, okay, some people may be a fan of Black Widow, some people may not, but Black Widow had character stuff going on and relationships going on in the movies before she died. We spent time exploring her relationship with Clint in the original Avengers, in Avengers Age of Ultron, in Civil War, and in they didn't really have any time together in Infinity War. But
there was nothing.
But we had time with those characters, and we also had time with Black Widow outside of just those movies. We had time with her in granted in Iron Man 2, she has no character work. She's just there for action lady purposes, and because S.H.I.E.L.D. needed for plot reasons, S.H.I.E.L.D. needed somebody spying on Tony.
Yeah.
But she does have a lot of character work in Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And then she gets, some people didn't like her character work, but she did get a lot of character work in Ultron. So going back and doing more stuff with her character, is a little bit silly, and absolutely, yes, I'm not terribly interested to watch a Black Widow movie because I already know where her story ends, but, you know, maybe it'll be interesting, right? And it's certainly possible that dark path for Xehanort could be interesting. The reason I'm actively disinterested in it is because we had Birth by Sleep, which admittedly spent some time mainly in the reports, outlining Xehanort's philosophy and motivation, right? Then Dream Drop Distance really did nothing for his character, and all Kingdom Hearts 3 did for his character was say that the things we understood about him were wrong. So I really, like, I'm not invested enough in him emotionally because he never had any relationships, he never had any, like, there was never anything emotional tugging at me with Xehanort, so I don't particularly care to go back and figure out what his deal was, right? Now, to be fair, additionally, I'm not necessarily sure that I care enough about Black Widow to go back and find out what her deal was. That's partially because I already know what her deal was. It was already kind of outlined. This would be just essentially another adventure with Black Widow and her family in Russia or whatever, right? It's probably being done primarily for the Russian box office. Apparently, the Russians love the Marvel movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. It's about punching things. It's about being vengeful.
Why do you say these things? Why do you say these things?
It was a joke.
Apparently, the Marvel movies
are really,
apparently they do pretty well for themselves in Russia.
They need more Adidas track jackets. To sell
It's
the
more
Russian
it's more on the level of like. It's more on the level of like, okay, all right, I can go see a movie about Black Widow, who again, I'm not like, Black Widow's not exactly my favorite Marvel character, but let's just look at it from this perspective, right? I can go see a movie about Black Widow, who is an entertaining character to watch. Looks like there's some other funny characters kind of surrounding her. She's gonna solve a conspiracy. There'll be cool action scenes, right? Mm-hmm. Or I can play a mobile game that will have no cutscenes or real like action content about a character that was only fun when he was voiced by Leonard Nimoy and doing this, and I can watch him when he was a kid being friends with the guy he's gonna murder later. This isn't, to be clear, this isn't necessarily a bad idea. It's not that the idea of doing a prequel game about Xehanort is an inherently terrible, awful idea that should never be done. The primary issue with it is that, like, how do I put this? It's partially on my end that I'm, like, over it. You know, I admit, it's partially just that I'm over it. The real issue is that you have spent several games where we didn't know what Xehanort's deal was. We kind of had it explained to us in Birth by Sleep, but then KH3 makes it seem like it's something totally different, and then Remind comes in and has a 5-minute long cutscene where Xehanort states in no uncertain terms, young Xehanort states in no uncertain terms to the Master of Masters, no, this is my deal. The way that it was described in the ending of Kingdom Hearts 3, that's my deal. So it's like, okay, do I care about learning about his relationship with Ericus? Do I care about learning what his deal is at this point? That's where it becomes murky. Though admittedly, the main reason I'm not interested in any upcoming Kingdom Hearts products is because I've spent, at this point, about $200 to be jerked around and played with and told come back next time. I spent $40 on DDD. Technically some people have paid $60 for 2.8, but let's not count that because I bought it for cheaper. Let's say like $30. So $40 for Dream Drop Distance. No, you know what? Forget it. We are gonna say $60 because they charged for $60. $40 for Dream Drop Distance. Another $60 for 2.8, which gives us, oh boy, ooh, Master of Masters. Who is he? Ooh, oh boy, Aqua's in the realm. I like 0.2, so I shouldn't be too mean to that. Dream Drop Distance, $40. Another $60 for Master of Masters. Ooh. And I mean, you know, there's other stuff in the package, but whatever. Another $60 for Kingdom Hearts 3. Oh my god, what happened to Sora? What's gonna happen next? Ooh, oh, Master of Masters. Ooh, the Lost Masters. Ooh. And then another $30 for Remind. Ooh, Master of Masters. Ooh, Verum Rex. Ooh. So you've spent $200 for the games to continually tell you, hey, ooh, boy, man, the next game, oh, it's gonna be exciting. Oh boy, in the next game, Kyrie's gonna do something, except that she won't, but don't worry about that. They'll maybe forget and said, they'll forget
we'll
after
put it
like
in the
7
$40
years.
DLC.
They'll forget about it.
It'll be like 5 minutes.
She'll be in like one fight in the $40 DLC.
And then we'll go throw her in the bed like in the Barry Kramer thing.
And then we'll put her to sleep for a year.
Yeah.
But she'll volunteer for it, so she'll have agency. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's cool. Don't worry about it.
Her, I swear.
Don't worry about it. So I have no interest.
God.
I have no interest in spending $60 on another game until such a time as I know that things happen in it. That's where I'm at. So that's the main reason that I'm like, who cares about Dark Road for Xehanort? It's probably not like, even if it goes back and it's like, hey dude, Xehanort is super duper interesting, right? unless it tells like a really interesting narrative in its own terms, where it's like it has a beginning, middle, and end, and it tells some interesting story about Xehanort and Eraqus' relationship or whatever, I don't care. And it's probably not going to be that. It's probably going to be Xehanort and Eraqus palling around and finding secrets about the Master of Masters that the audience is going to need for Kingdom Hearts 4 or Kingdom Hearts 3.5 or whatever. So, you know, tell me when something happens. Until then, I'm out. I'm out of Kingdom Hearts until something happens. God. Well, people after Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, even people who were like complete standing the game, defending it, like they were so befuddled by the ending of the game that they needed to look for, it must have been a translation error. Because in English he says I wanted to create a new world, pure and bright, and it's like, well, in Japanese he said pure and blank, so he wasn't actually a fan of the dark or the light. But it's like the whole scene is him talking about how darkness spread like a plague, and the only way to fix it was to reset the galaxy. And then the beginning of Remind is him explaining in explicit detail to the Master of Masters
how bad the darkness is.
I've gone all over the world, and I see that there is darkness everywhere. Everybody, the weak steal power from the strong, and then they create bullshit excuses for why they did it and why they deserve it. People are nice to each other, but they only do it to get things for themselves and to justify their own existences. The world is assholes. It's a very 17-year-old male thought process, which is hilarious to think that 17-year-old male Xehanort, he never changed his thought process over the next 75 years. He was just dedicated to this one idea. Is like, the only way to fix it is for me, a smart guy who understands how effed up the world is, bro, to create a new one where everything is better.
He listened to a lot of mid-90s music. Just a lot of it.
He listened to a lot of conservative radio talk show hosts.
Norwega asks, what do you think of Just a Pancake's analysis video?
I watched a couple of them. They're pretty good. He's not, they're pretty brief, but like, I agree with the points that he makes in his analysis videos for the most part. God, I was watching the premiere for the final episode of Kingdom Hearts 3, but a glitch occurred, and unfortunately nothing that I wrote in the chat went through to you guys. It was very annoying.
I was in the chat. I didn't say anything, but I should have. I didn't understand what was happening because I was like in.
My plan is that we're gonna do another stream kind of like this, discussing Kingdom Hearts 3. Except we're gonna watch the final episode and I'm gonna commentate over it, and I'll read both whatever you guys are saying in chat and whatever the chat said during the premiere. There won't be any other video games being played. We're gonna structure it specifically around me watching and giving commentary over the final episode of Kingdom Hearts 3.
That's the third Alpha Team song in the last 30 minutes.
I don't know. I dropped them into the playlist.
It's just funny.
But during the stream, I was mostly just answering some questions people had. Again, none of it went through, but I was answering questions people had. I was commenting about a couple things like, oh, this moment was really fun to film. I clarified a couple of points that I made. Of course, nobody saw them. But a couple of times people were like, hey, play Remind, it explains everything. Hey, play Remind, it ties up the loose ends. And I replied to both of them with just, no, it doesn't. And then towards the end, I was like, screw it, whatever, who cares? And I started typing, and it's like, my favorite part in the Remind DLC was when Roxas, Axel, and Xion had to beat up the bad guys to get their slave brands
mark.
back. They needed to get their slave
Otherwise,
brands
they
back,
couldn't be friends
or else they
anymore.
couldn't be friends anymore. They needed the connection of their servitude to their masters. They needed the slave brand back that was forced upon them. My favorite part of Remind was when Terranort and Lingering Will were fighting, and Sora time travels and comes out of Lingering Will, but he doesn't have a body, so that should be impossible. He's just a disembodied heart, so how does he have a body? So that's impossible. My favorite part of the Remind DLC was when Mickey recreated the microwave hallway sequence from Metal Gear Solid 4, except it had no thematic or narrative weight, and nothing was happening, and it was less visually interesting, and there was no story purpose to it, and it was more mechanically annoying, and it was like twice as long as the already extremely long microwave hallway sequence. My favorite
the
part...
microwave hallway sequence cut to other characters to like show what you were fighting for and all that. There's nothing.
My favorite part of the Remind DLC is when they're like, oh, Xion came back because Vexen wrote some notes about her. So we took those and we made Xion come back, even though the whole issue was that her memories are tied up inside of Sora and whatnot. Also, Vexen died in Chain of Memories before Xion had self-actualized, so all of his notes on Xion would have been on her base form. So why did she like, no, don't hurt Axel, we need him? Why did she have her voice? Why did she, when the hood came off, why did she have hair? Why did she have all of her memories? Did they come out of Sora? Does he not need them anymore? Did Sora lose the memories that she was based on when that happened, or did they get duplicated somehow?
I thought...
Also, did Vexen, like, he wrote down notes? How did they just make that? Also, my favorite part of the Remind DLC was that when they're explaining that they just found these notes and they made something out of it, they're like, we don't even know what this is. We don't remember her. So why did you make it? Why didn't you just find another organization member or some guy who likes power or another time-traveling version of yourselves? Why would you risk your entire plan on a wild card thing that you have absolutely no idea what it is? My favorite part of the Remind DLC is that during that conversation, they say, we don't remember who this is or anything about her. She's been completely wiped from all existence. And then 30 seconds later, in the cutscene that was in base Kingdom Hearts 3,
I remember.
In the cutscene that's in base Kingdom Hearts 3, Xemnas says, oh, that's right, you guys were friends. Because as it was written in Kingdom Hearts 3, Sayax and Xemnas did remember her, but they forgot about that, even though it happened 30 seconds later. My favorite part of Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC is that Kairi got turned into a crystal as a part of Xehanort's backup contingency plan that is never explained, and they never say what it is. My favorite part of the Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC is how Kairi breaks up into a bunch of heart fragments that are located inside a Heartless, a Puzzle, a Fountain, a Dark Side, an elevator shaft, Riku and Mickey. My favorite part of the Remind DLC is how Sora and Kairi played the mobile game so they knew to drop Chirithy off with Ventus. My favorite part of the Remind DLC is when Sora points a Keyblade at Kairi and makes Naminé come out of her. So if he could do that, why didn't he point a Keyblade at himself and make Roxas come out of him? My favorite part of the Remind DLC is the part where they show all of the evil Aquas coming out of the tornado to explain, no, you see, Aqua had PTSD. That's why she froze up. Instead of, putting a scene in the base game where Aqua was nervous and she froze up and people were like, is everything okay, Aqua? To set up that she wasn't on her A game. No, don't you see? It made sense. You just, now we've explained it. She had PTSD.
That was one of
Duh.
I'm sorry, in base KH3 when that happened, I mean, it's obviously in the playthrough, but I think that was one of the funniest moments in my gaming life. I wasn't even playing, and it was still just, I couldn't believe I was watching. Why did she just give up?
My favorite part of the Remind DLC is when they realized, oh wait, crap, our animations in the first game sucked, and in the base game sucked, and they animate a bunch of new fight scenes. They're actually well animated. It's like they had time and money, or maybe they hired new animators, I don't know, because all of a sudden the action scenes in Remind are actually pretty good. And so they animate an action scene where Kairi's fighting Xemnas, and she's like kicking the crap out of him, and she breaks his swords, and she's actually kind of doing well, and then 30 seconds later he grabs her by the wrist and he teleports away, and she dies. My favorite part of the Remind DLC was the part where Terra, Aqua, and Ventus open a portal and go to the Realm of Darkness. Number one, the place where Aqua's traumatized PTSD from. Number two, the place that we just established you can only get to if you have the Kingdom Key D, or the Kingdom Key W, I guess as it is now called. Remember how the reason that they said we couldn't go help Aqua, but now we can. Okay, so what changed in 0.2? What's changed, Mickey? Oh, you have the Kingdom Key D, which you've had for the last year? Why didn't you go help Why didn't you go help her? And then 30 seconds after Chip and Dale explained to you in Kingdom Hearts 3 that the Kingdom Key D can open a portal to the Realm of Darkness, and that's the only way to get in, then Sora finds the Keyblade that Aqua had in the Realm of Darkness, and he uses it to open a portal to the Realm of Darkness. And then in the Remind DLC, Terra, Aqua, and Ven all touch the tips of their Keyblades, and it opens a portal to the Realm of Darkness.
Jake, let's take a break and listen to music. I don't think this is cheering him up, guys. I tried.
My favorite part of the Remind DLC was when Naminé showed up and said, Sora, what are you doing? And he said, I'm saving Kairi. And then she disappeared, and she was only there to be in the trailers. My favorite part of the Remind DLC was when Lingering Will just died. He just died. He just got hit with a sword and he fell apart. That isn't that important. That's just silly. That was just funny when Lingering Will died. My favorite part of the Remind DLC is when Terranort goes, darkness awaits you, and he shoots Sora, and then there's a 30-second loading screen.
No, darkness within darkness.
No, he only says darkness awaits you.
Oh, really?
During the playthrough, when Joey and I
I'm
recorded
sorry,
it,
I never even finished
when
KH3,
Joey and I,
I'm not gonna lie.
Well, no, this is in Remind specifically.
Okay.
This is in Remind, which will probably never be released, because if I release the Remind DLC recording, I will completely destroy any potential I ever had of working with Square Enix or the Walt Disney Company or anything ever, because it's just so bad.
This is
my favorite
this
part.
Is probably like a 6.
My favorite part of the Remind DLC is when Terranort goes, darkness awaits you, and the darkness hits time traveling Sora, who came out of Lingering Will to fight Terranort. And he goes, darkness awaits you. And then it cuts to black, and there's a loading screen, and then you're back as past Sora in the labyrinth going to the boss fight, and the scene they didn't know how to end the scene, so they just cut away. And what happened? What happened? My favorite part of the Remind DLC is when Sora goes inside of himself and talks to Roxas, and Roxas is like, you just see the stained glass, and Roxas' voiceover comes in and says, I have a plan. And Sora says, okay, wait for my signal. And then it cuts back to reality, and there's like 30 seconds of cutscene, and then Sora runs forward with the Keyblade, and then it flashes back to 30 seconds ago, and now Roxas and Sora are both there fully animated, and Roxas says, I have a plan. And Sora says, okay, wait for my signal. And they go into slightly more detail about the plan, but they still don't explain what the plan is, they just go into slightly more detail, and then it cuts back to reality, and Sora goes, now! And he jumps up, and he attacks Xemnas, and Xemnas grabs him and throws him across the arena, and Roxas goes, huh? Oh no! And then he runs, like he missed the signal!
This is better music than the game.
What happened? Roxas, that was the signal, buddy!
Oh no. That's the signal.
Kaka! 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 That's the signal!
Oh god.
My favorite part of the Remind DLC was when time-traveling Sora is in Scala Ad Kylum, and real Sora is over there, and Xehanort shows up, who I guess is also time-traveling?
I think so.
And he says, haha, Sora, you'll never save Kairi. Even though it doesn't matter? Because the fact that Sora is here is because he's already lost in the future, so he's just doing it to spite Sora, I guess? But Mickey said, but telepathic...
It's like Waluigi holding a princess and going,
But telepathic Mickey talked to time-traveling Sora and told him that he crystallized Kairi because of his backup plan.
Oh my
But they
God.
never explain what the backup plan is.
No.
So was he saying, haha, Sora, you'll never get your girlfriend back because of the backup plan? And then just Sora beat it, and so it didn't matter what the backup plan was? My favorite part of the Remind DLC was when Kairi and Sora fight armored Xehanort on a big platform in the sky at the same time as Sora, Donald, and Goofy are fighting Xehanort inside Scala Ad Kylum. So there were two Xehanorts. Was one of them a fake Xehanort, or a time travel Xehanort, or a spectral projection Xehanort? Or was the Xehanort that we fought with Sora and Kairi just his armor animated and then there was nobody inside, even though it had not Christopher Lee's voice, Doc Brown.
Really? Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd, yeah, he's the new voice for Xehanort.
Yeah, that's still so weird.
He's better than Rutger Howard was.
I know, because Rutger Howard was, I mean, no, you know, not trying to disrespect the dead, but he was phoning it in.
He wasn't. I don't think he knew. I don't think he knew what the material was.
Yeah.
But
Jacob, Verum Rex versus 13, please be excited, says
my
Yosh.
favorite part of the Remind DLC was when Yuzora showed up and said a bunch of stuff that doesn't make any sense, so that we could all take to the forums and make more videos and generate more traffic to get people excited for the next Kingdom Hearts product. Even though we just paid $30 for this Kingdom Hearts product.
Someone just wrote DDD2 with Kairi as MC. Lol, as if.
If they did that, you know,
I mean,
I wouldn't. I know. I
it
like.
wouldn't advance the plot.
I've seen people being like, "Oh, Jacob will buy it if they do a Kairi game," and it's like, no, I won't if nothing happens. I don't even like Kairi anymore. I don't like Sora or Riku or any of these people anymore. They're all assholes. If they had any brain power in their skulls whatsoever, they could have avoided the entire ending of Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, remember when Xehanort is like, you require motivation, and he kills Kairi, right? Which I assume was because he needed Sora to jump up and hit his Keyblade to make the 13th clash,
there was
right?
literally nothing.
Nothing would have stopped Sora. He was gonna go and attack Xehanort anyway.
No, the funny
he was
thing-
there to kill. They were there to kill the
Literally,
villains.
It's still hilarious to me that the only way they could give Sora motivation in that game to attack Xehanort was to
He didn't
literally
need it. He was gonna
have
attack him anyway.
He literally just, it needed to be he Bowsered the love interest and then shanked her. It's like the most
Remember
derivative
in Final
shit
Fantasy 13
ever.
when the villain is like, if you kill me, you'll destroy the world, and they're like, F you, villain, we're gonna kill you. And then they killed him, and then the world started
they're like,
falling
"Oh,
apart,
crap."
and they were like, oh no! We did not foresee this! And then Vanille and Fang turn into a crystal, and it goes, and it's like, oh
Spoilers or
good, everything's
whatever.
fine.
Spoilers.
So
or
it didn't
whatever.
matter. When in Kingdom Hearts 3, so there's two things that could possibly be going on with the Keyblade War at the ending of Kingdom Hearts 3. There's two things that could possibly be happening. Number one is every time that someone is killed, it gets us towards one of the total KO counts that we need to get the Keyblade. which is what the game leads you to assume, because every time you kill somebody, there's the cutscene of the darkness pfing out of them, right? And it's not Xehanort leaving them because they all still have yellow eyes, and we've never seen that effect before, so the audience assumes, oh, this is Keyblade being forged, that's why it's bothering to show it to us. But then at the ending, when Sora has to jump up and clash blades with Xehanort, it's implied that perhaps that specifically was, we'll get to that in a second. Let's say that killing Kairi was the 13th KO that they needed, in which case there were only 13 total casualties required to form the Keyblade. So if the heroes had all died, would the Keyblade have not been forged? If the heroes had killed 7 of the bad guys and then left, would the Keyblade have been impossible to forge at that point? Going beyond that, okay, if maybe the 7 lights are worth 2 each, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe that way you get to 13, 14-ish number,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So maybe that they had 12, and when he killed Kairi, he actually got 2 points, so he got to 14, but that meant that he met the quota of 13 to form the Keyblade. Now that doesn't.
The freaking dark slaying quota.
Yeah. Now that doesn't make sense for a couple of reasons. Number one, what defines when this happens? Because, like, Braig didn't die, he ran away, so it's not a casualty. What defines it? Like, is it, like, you have to get them to, like, 10... Do you have to break their aura from Ruby? Is it designated by aura breaks?
Don't talk about Ruby.
So it's not casualties, because, like, you know, okay, Riku Replica didn't actually die.
Yeah.
Just he was other Riku Replica flew through him. Braig didn't die, he ran away.
I'm sorry to interrupt. People are talking about how Riku didn't feel authentic in this one, and then someone pointed out, yeah, David Gallagher reading this Riku script with no emotion at all was hilarious.
He did. Yeah, he was done. He didn't care.
Yeah, it's hilarious because it's like honestly, kind of my enthusiasm in the series was kind of echoed by David Gallagher. I felt like.
But no, so
Or
it's
in
like
Kingdom Hearts 2, it's the most hype shit ever. And
So,
then
like-
now it's just.
so okay. So let's say it was casualties. That doesn't really totally make sense, because if that was the case, then the Keyblade should have been forged when they all died to the Demon Tide.
I guess.
And if that is the case, then if it is total casualties, Riku Replica didn't die, and Braig didn't die, so killing Kairi still wouldn't have gotten him there. I guess if she counts for 2, then she would have gotten him there if they weren't actually at 12. But there were 12 Keyblades circling around Xehanort beforehand, so no, we had gotten to 12. So that doesn't really make sense, but whatever, it doesn't matter. But then it still raises the question of, does this mean that the heroes are stupid? Because the heroes could have just killed a couple of them and left, and Xehanort can't win. But that doesn't seem like that's the actual interpretation. It seems like what it actually is every time that the blades clashed, which raises the question of, okay, so slashing Kairi in the back didn't count. It has to be a blade touch. It has to be a clash of power, right? Okay, so why didn't he just fight Kairi? When they were all when Sora, Riku, and Mickey were fighting the 3 Xehanorts, right? Presumably the second that they met blades, like that got to the 12 count, right? So
Yeah.
all Xehanort needed to do was wave some smelling salts under Kairi's nose when she woke up startled and summoned her Keyblade, swing at her, and if she blocked it, then you win, right?
Yeah.
If everybody is separated in a labyrinth and they can't see each other, what is stopping each of the 13 darknesses from teleporting in, hitting Sora's sword or one of the other light's swords, and then teleporting away? Even if the heroes are smart and they know that, okay, we can't touch blades with all 13 of the guys, or else that'll form the Keyblade. You've made this labyrinth, they're all separated, they don't know what's happening. Once enough of the boss fights happen, you can just have Xehanort teleport in. It's not like Sora isn't gonna defend himself. He'll raise his blade and block it, so the Xehanorts could have won like 5 minutes after they showed up. And everybody would have still been locked in the labyrinth, and they could have been at full power. None of them needed to die. They could have gotten their 13 blade clashes, the Keyblade would have been formed, and then they could have done it. On top of that, why is it that the Keyblade parts look like No Name, which is the Master of Masters Keyblade, which he developed based on the Kingdom Key, not the Kingdom Key, the Keyblade, because the Keyblade is a cosmic entity that already existed, and the Master of Masters studied it to create all other Keyblades. So, number one, why is it that as they're getting all the parts, they appear as No Names? And number two, why do they levitate around Xehanort? What's special about Xehanort? Is the particular rock that he's standing on, is that just happens to be the perfect center of the battlefield and that's where the Keyblade parts appear? Or are they coming to him somehow? Why didn't they come to Sora instead, or Riku, or Kairi for that matter, or freaking Luxord? Why did they appear right there? Why did they look like No Name? If it had been light casualties, would they have been a different Keyblade? Would it have been like, you know, like the Starlight Keyblade, or maybe one of the mask, like the Ava's Keyblade or something like that? Why was it No Name? Like they
questions.
and when he
Just
got it,
do what I say.
and when he got it and he shot Kingdom Hearts, what was he waiting for? Why didn't he blow up the universe right then? He started floating up into the sky and didn't do anything. What was he waiting for? He had it. He could win right there. He could have blown up the entire universe. You should have aimed for the head. Done. Why didn't he win? I don't understand. What happened?
No.
What happened in the ending of the game?
He shot Kingdom Hearts, and then he felt really sad because he realized he was being a bad guy. And he was like, I just want to be a good guy. And then he went to heaven. That's literally what happened.
Crossburn says, KH3 is the first game where I actually couldn't tell what was going on, mainly the Keyblade Graveyard. Every other game, I could at least tell what was supposed to be communicated to me.
Yeah, no, like, DDD is just dumb. I understood what was happening.
For me, specifically, Remind is the first piece of Kingdom Hearts media where I literally did not understand what was happening and what I was supposed to be gleaning from it. Like, it's just insane. It doesn't make any sense. It's like a fever dream. It's like a Kingdom Hearts fever dream. It's the first time I've ever legitimately felt that I walked away from a Kingdom Hearts product having not understood a good amount of what happened in it. I think I'm about out of juice. There's more things I could talk about, but the strength is leaving my body.
Man, I need to play P3 at some point. It's really long, though. Well, that was fun.
I mean, I gotta.
That was a nice hot gamer rant. Yeah, just cool off. Just cool down.
It's summertime now. It's getting hot now.
Cool out, Carl.
I mean, realistically, I think I said this to you previously.
Yeah.
Realistically, what should have been happening was every 300 years after the Keyblade War, harmonic convergence occurs. And Kingdom Hearts and the Keyblade just show up at the site where the battle was fought, the Keyblade Graveyard. Xehanort wants Kingdom Hearts and the Keyblade, but he's like 85 and it's still 13 years away in Birth by Sleep, right? He might not live that long. He's getting old and crusty. So he's got a couple of ideas. Let's try and force it to happen right now artificially using Ven and Vent Vanitas. And if that doesn't work, you know, just as a backup, I'll go ahead and possess this young dude, and that way I can live for the next 15 years. But oops, amnesia happened, he got sidetracked. Now Kingdom Hearts 3 is here. Harmonic convergence is rapidly approaching. The Kingdom Hearts will appear soon. Oh no. Xehanort has got an army of 13 guys ready to go. All we have are Sora, Riku, Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, and Kairi doesn't really know what she's doing, and Axel doesn't really know what he's doing with the Keyblade either. It'd be good if we could get more people so that we're ready for this fight. And so now we have, we've only got 1 week. 1 week before it happens. Let's go out on a mission and find as much help as we can get.
Make sure
let's
that
try
we're
and
ready
get,
for when Sozin's Comet gets here.
Let's try and get Aqua and Ven and Roxas and Terra and as many people as we can rescue all the people. And then let's try and get them quickly, and then we can go before harmonic convergence happens. We can go and beat them all before it even happens, and then there's no risk. But oh no, along the way, complications arise. One of the characters goes missing. Riku or Kairi gets kidnapped, who cares? Sora goes missing. He sleepwalks onto a lion turtle. Oh no, things have come up. We were planning on going and attacking the Xehanorts today, but an incident occurred that has caused that we couldn't go. Oh no, we still don't know where Ven and Roxas are. Oh no, we found Aqua, but she's not quite ready to fight yet. Oh, she's still got PTSD and she kind of freezes up sometimes, but geez, harmonic convergence is like tomorrow. We don't have a choice. We gotta go at not full strength. We don't have everybody, but we have to. And then you cut the 7 lights and 13 darknesses thing, and it's just, we have to go even though we're not at full power, and we have to kill all the Xehanorts before harmonic convergence happens. And it's like the same, but just not stupid.
Nice. So is that the end of the epic gamer rant?
I don't know, who cares?
Hopefully. That was really draining, just even sitting here watching it.
Rainy Heart says it's summer, looks at the downpour outside. I guess it's not summer, it's spring,
I mean,
right?
it's spring, yeah, but
It's hot where we are.
Where we live, I mean, they already know we live in the south.
Living in the southeast of the United States, it gets hot
South
sometimes.
Is hot.
It hasn't been. It hasn't actually. Honestly, it's nice. It's nice today.
Humidity is the main thing.
It's nice today, but we're sitting in here under lights with a PS4 and a computer that's using a lot of its CPU, and the air conditioning isn't on. So it's hot. It's getting hot in here.
It's using a lot of its dedicated wham.
Dedicated wham. I apologize that I wasn't reading chat at all during most of that, folks.
Yeah,
there was a lot of writing happening, and I couldn't read all of it while I was also talking. Though I see people were saw people talking about David Gallagher's performance, like you were commenting on.
This is just that RLM question about Prometheus bit.
RLM has questions about Prometheus.
But I have questions. Senator from the planet of the ETs. Stop asking
Allison Watts,
me
how
these
has Kingdom Hearts never talked about greed in one of the speeches about the heart? Well, that's because the only things that matter in Kingdom Hearts are light, darkness, and friendship.
Yeah, that's what...
As has been told to me by people in the comments sections on recent videos who think that I and Joey are morons who don't know what we're talking about, and if we don't like it, why are we even playing it? And the answer is because we hadn't played Kingdom Hearts 3. We couldn't. Saying if you don't like X, Y, or Z thing, if you don't like this movie, book, or video game or whatever, don't watch, read, or play it, is a logical fallacy. You can't know if you don't like it until you consume it. And I like 90% of the Kingdom Hearts series.
Yeah.
Anyway, but people were like, Jacob, I think I've hopefully rendered this explicitly throughout the course of this stream. My issues with Kingdom Hearts are not that the lore doesn't make sense, is that the lore is the only thing to engage with because there's no drama. But a guy was like, it doesn't matter that the lore doesn't make sense. It's just a series about friendship, light, and darkness. And it's like, I don't know what that means.
At least...
Because the bad guys aren't that bad, and the good guys don't really do anything heroic other than fight the bad guys who aren't doing anything. And they aren't even friends with each other. No. The only scenes in Kingdom Hearts 3 where people are friends with each other... You can only have 2
friends. You can only it's like that scene in Very Power Sequel. You can only have
That's ridiculous. You can only have 2 best friends.
Yeah.
The only scenes of, like, relationship building and friendship in Kingdom Hearts 3 are the scenes between Axel and Kairi. Like, for real. The 2 pre-rendered scenes with Axel and Kairi are the only times where characters sit down and talk about their feelings and develop a relationship with each other. Sora, Donald, and Goofy's relationship is static. All the scenes featuring Riku and Sora are them standing in Yensid's boardroom getting exposition, and they don't interact with each other, other than for Riku to say, "Hi, everybody thinks you suck, Sora, and I think you suck too."
Hey, at least the FF7 remake looks good.
At least the FF7 remake is probably good.
It seems like it's written well, at least better than this. Granted, they already knew what the outline of the story
Abby
was.
Saint says, "Oof, I'm actually nervous for FF7." I don't know if you're responding to this whole discussion or if it's stuff that was, to be clear, we talked about this earlier in the stream, folks. Nomura isn't writing FF7 Remake. It's written by Nojima, who wrote Final Fantasy VII, among other things.
And also KH1.
And also was a writer on Kingdom Hearts 1 and a writer on Kingdom Hearts 2.
Wasn't
and a scenario.
Also on FF8 and 9?
He was on 8 and 10, not 9.
Okay, my bad.
He was on 8 and he was the
I
scenario.
forgot 9 was a lot of different people.
He was the scenario writer for 8 and 10.
Because 8 and 9 came out the door like so close to each other that
yeah, no, there was no crossover. There was no crossover of staff between 8 and 9.
Yeah.
They were borderline being developed concurrently for most of their run, for most of the time. 9 started a little bit after 8 started, but much of their development overlapped. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be changes in the FF7 remake that will probably rub me the wrong way. I can already say, having watched a good chunk of it, that there are multiple points where there's a little bit too much I mean, it's hard to say because, like, it's weird. There's a lot of moments of Cloud goes, my head, and you see something, right?
But I would say that's excusable because almost the entirety of the game, I don't know. I didn't watch the final trailer, so I don't know where the game is going to end.
Yeah, don't watch the final trailer for the FF7 remake, guys.
Trailer.
Don't watch the latest trailer for FF7 remake.
But based on what I think, I would say at least 90% of the game takes place in Midgar, and you really do have to hint at a lot of the Sephiroth stuff because a lot of that doesn't really come into effect until Calm. I don't know if the Calm flashback is going to be in there, but I think you have to at least allude to it to make people interested in the second part.
There are a couple of things that, as someone who's played the game, I was like, come on, that's aggressive. Yeah. But then I thought, if you're doing this blind, it doesn't mean anything anyway.
Yeah.
Because, like, in the original game, partially because the translation was so bad, when like you see like watch out, this isn't a normal reactor, says a voice in cloud set. Like you don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
It's just text that appeared on the screen and it's really weird.
Or, you know, you used to be able to get out of that with only skinned knees or something like that.
The most aggressive cloud, my head thing that I've seen is when Aerith goes, I've got a materia, but it doesn't do anything at all, is he goes, and you see the materia fall into a body of water. You see a piece of materia fall into a body of water.
Why?
Because fan service.
Oh, God.
That's
Why
all,
did he see that?
But, because it's future. But on the bright side, it's like...
Spoilers, don't say
if
it's
you don't,
future.
I'm
Kidding.
And to be fair, like when we played it with Price and Joey, I don't remember which one of them said it, but the second that she said, I have a materia that doesn't do anything, one of them went like, well, I bet that's not true. That's obviously a plot thing or they wouldn't have introduced it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I thought about it and it's like, it's not actually that aggressive. You don't know anything. The only thing that's potentially aggressive so far that I've seen is that, I shouldn't go into too much spoilers, but some characters use the word reunion in the context that it's used in FF7 original, but it is completely meaningless as presented in the context of FF7. I don't think there's anything. I don't think any of the foreshadowing will give things away for people who are blind.
Oni Max played. It's called Alley Cat, not Cats in an Alley.
What?
He's saying, I really like this P5 song, Cats in an Alley or whatever it's
Oh
called.
yes, it's called Alley Cat. You can see it at the top of the stream if you're maybe you're on the.
Videosity one's already got me covered. Never mind. Now I feel. Don't I feel foolish?
If you're maybe if you're on your phone, the screen's too small. But if you look at it, you can see whatever track is playing in the. Hold on.
Yeah, on phones you can't really see it.
There. You see, it's hard. There you go. You did it.
Looked like I was flipping people off there, even though that was like my index finger. Sorry.
Hey Jacob, some people who played FF7 said Jun Akiyama did the cutscenes. He did not. The the cinematic director for FF7 Remake is... I'm blanking on the guy's name, but he's the guy who did the 13 trilogy, among other things. Which, those cutscenes are direct. Like, the cutscene direction in 13 is fine. I will say, from what I've seen of FF7 Remake, there are occasionally some weird cuts. There's some weird editing here and there.
I noticed that just in the demo as well.
There's a handful of weird cuts, and sometimes there are weird zooms, but for the most part, it's very competently put together. There's especially some of the boss fights have cutscenes during them that are like really exciting and get you pumped. Generally speaking, FF7 Remake appears to be very, very well produced, just immaculately produced from everything that I've watched.
Based on what I've seen, based on what he's shown me of the Aussie people playing it, and the demo, I think it's their best written game since 2006. Yeah. Like since Final Fantasy XII.
Lax C says, didn't she say something about the materia in FF7? Yeah, in FF7, the line is like identical. She says, "I have my own materia," and she points at her bow and says, "But mine's special. It doesn't do anything." That's exactly what she says on FF7 as well.
But
she says the same thing.
In the new version, he goes.
In the new version, Claude goes. That's a plot point. But like if you have a functioning brain when playing the original, you know it's a plot point
that's
anyway.
A Chekhov's gun. Obvious.
I think there's only one other point where I was like, okay, come on, that's aggressive. But it's another point where the audience would probably know that it's
not that big of a deal,
plot point. I'm not gonna talk about it.
Yeah, that's just a little different in directorial style.
I'm not spoiling any more FF7 stuff for people. I'm not saying
dropped a lot
else.
of frames there.
Did we?
Yeah.
No, it's probably fine.
We just dropped like 1,000, I think.
Wait, this?
Yeah, that went down to 0%.
That's bitrate. This is frame rate.
Oh yeah, no, I know that's
bitrate,
but this number went up by about like 500.
It's fine. Who cares? It'll be all right.
Yeah, we're all right. Hey yo, Bobcat.
Epic Blue Boy says, forget about KH, play Persona 5 Royal. Play a better narrative game. As I've said previously, I'd love to do a playthrough of a Persona game, but I would want to do it with one other person who hasn't played it before.
Who hasn't played it, and me and Joey have already played it.
And Aiden's availability is virtually non-existent, as I've discussed previously. And even if she was available, those games are like 100 hours long, so it'd be difficult to do. Never say never, but unlikely we'll have a Persona playthrough at any point in the future.
Yes, Bobcat, we have seen some of the leaks for 7 Remake. We're not going to spoil anything, obviously, but we were just talking about we think it looks pretty good.
Specifically, Bobcat, it's not even a leak because it's just out. It's available at retail in Australia. I have watched many hours of a playthrough from an Australian player, skipping much of the side content, much of the dungeon crawling, and some cutscenes, but I've watched probably composite total maybe like 7 or 8 hours of the game, but probably got up to like the 15-hour mark in the game or something like that. And again, no spoilers. The main thing I was saying is that the raw dialogue writing is very good. Something I said way earlier in the stream is that, like, compared to Kingdom Hearts 3, where I think the only joke that landed the way it was supposed. There were probably one or two others. I laughed a couple times at things I think I was supposed to laugh to.
Most of them were Disney, were like Rex.
There were
other Disney characters.
There were a handful of original jokes in Kingdom Hearts 3 that were fine. The only one that really landed really well was Yidis Vanitas. Just the stuff that I watched of FF7 Remake, I think I laughed out loud at least 24 times. There's some legitimately hilarious stuff in there. The characters are like, I can't speak to Barrett, because Barrett obviously undergoes some significant character changes past the point that I got to, but Cloud and Tifa and Aerith, as presented in this, are like the definitive Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith already, as far as I'm concerned. I cannot wait to see these people, how they handle Red 13 and Yuffie, and Sid. And maybe they'll even make me like Vincent.
Maybe.
I'm so optimistic about the character writing from what I've seen in FF7
like
that I'm now thinking to myself, they might make me like Vincent. That's how good the character writing is in FF7 Remake so far, from what I've seen.
Dude, I'm excited for Sid. I want him screaming at Shara as loudly as possible.
Sarcastic One says, I'm playing FF7 right now. Please no spoilers. Original, not PS4. I'm trying my best not to spoil anything at all in any regards for anything.
I mean, we definitely won't talk about anything after Midgar.
Well, we're not going to talk about anything at all. We're not spoiling any. I'm not spoiling anything. I wasn't spoiling anything about the remake. I'm not spoiling anything about the future games. I'm very respectful of FF7 spoilers, especially with this remake coming out.
Yeah.
Trying
Even
my best.
Before. Like, games that are that big of a deal, I've never gotten the point in being like, spoiler for a 20-year-old game, if you care. I'm like, people are still playing it. Because, you know, it's that important to gaming.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like if it's like some tiny indie game or something from 20 years ago, then sure. Yeah, that one girl is real thirsty.
Oh yeah, Jessie wants it.
Yeah, Jessie.
You can see that in the demo too, but it gets worse in the actual game.
It gets apparent.
Yeah, you haven't seen it, but I told Joshua, Jessie, she just called her son Goku because she wants to ride on a cloud.
Yeah, I'd say the only problem, I think I said this earlier, but I think the only problem I have with the demo that makes me a little concerned was that the boss felt a bit like a hit sponge. Like, there wasn't that much interesting going on with the boss in the demo. You just hit it with magic, and then you hit it with a sword, and then you hit it with magic again, then you hit it with a sword again. So I'm really hoping that the bosses get a little more unique.
I can't speak to the quality of the long-term gameplay of the game, because all the Let's Plays that I watched, the guys playing them were bad. I was like, come on, they did, I learned more about how to play the game from paying attention during the demo than these guys did playing the actual game. But, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll play it and I'll be bad too, so. Jason asks, how long do you think for the next part of FF7 to be released? I have no idea. I'd like to hope no more than 3 years.
Yeah, I would honestly...
If this is a 10-year project, it's going to really hurt them.
It should be an asset flip. It should be like a Majora's Mask.
Well, they can't, because they can't reuse Midgar assets in most other parts of the most of the parts of the FF7 world. I really think that they should not go like, okay, now that we've done a PS4 game, now let's make a PS5 level game and make something even better. Yeah. They should stay at the exact same level of fidelity they've got right now and just make it, and have it on PS5 with more processing power. They should not try and level up what they're doing. They should keep it at this exact level of fidelity, and they should make the next game, don't try and make every town the scale that they're making the towns in this game.
That would be really depressing if, like, the first game was really, really good, and then it took them 5 years to make the next one. Like, people would actually be pissed. I would be pissed.
I think that if this thing is I think that from a business standpoint, if this thing is a 10-year project, people are going to not only lose interest and lose steam, and then that means the sales are just going to decline sharply, even if the games remain good. You're going to have way more people who get, after season 1 of Attack on Titan, I was like, screw waiting for the next season. I'm reading the manga. This is so many people are going to play this and go straight to. Yeah. They're going to go read the manga. They're going to go play the PS1 game, right?
PS1 game is now a manga.
With that in mind, waiting too long to release the sequels, I feel, will hurt their sales potential. I think hopefully this is a 3-part game.
That will take no more than 5 years.
And there's 3 years gap between each game. You'll be able to flip a lot.
I think maybe
you'll be able to flip a lot more assets from game 2 to game 3.
That's why I'm thinking maybe 2. I'm thinking they probably pre-made at least some of the assets with this one, since this one took 5 years.
I think that ideally part 3 and final of Final Fantasy VII Remake will release in 2026. Yeah. That's probably the best case scenario.
Bobcat is asking, do you think the game will end at calm? I hope it ends at calm. I want the flashback to be the last thing you do.
I have said previously during other streams and during the playthrough of the demo with Joey that I think that would be a clever way to, to be able to do a cliffhanger for the next game. However, I really, at this point, I shouldn't offer any speculation on, because now I have actual information about the content of.
I haven't watched it, but I know that it basically answers that question.
Now I have actual information about the FF7 remake, so I can't be involved.
I have no idea what the answer to that question is, but I know that the final trailer answers that question.
Someone said a second ago, where was it? Yush asked, Jacob, do you like anything about the fight with Yazora? To be clear, I haven't played. I only played a couple of the limit cut fights when Joey and I were filming. We didn't beat any of them. We tried like 4 or 5 of them, and then to see the final content, we went on YouTube and we pulled up somebody else's footage of the Yazora fight and associated cutscenes, and that was what we watched when we shot it. To be very clear, for all my criticisms directed towards Remind, I should specifically say they're all directed towards the Remind scenario. Because Limit Cut seems really cool. A lot of people are saying that like they're better boss fights than the KH2FM boss fights.
Which is high praise.
And the Yazora boss fight, I haven't played it, but I've watched it. Looks amazing. Looks like one of the coolest boss fights in like the history of the series. The Yazora boss fight's awesome. Doesn't mean I'm gonna buy the next game. Just saying.
Allison Watts asks, do you think they'll make you walk between towns or give you a chocobo?
I think that if they get ambitious and they're like, we're going to present the world at full scale.
Oh, God, no.
Not only is that going to just...
Oh, no.
That's going to ruin the game's...
We're going to make 2 Breath of the Wild.
It's going to ruin the game's pacing. It's going to make the cost skyrocket. And all these games are going to sell less sequentially. Yeah. I mean, ideally sequels sell more. But not in this case, I'm afraid that Part 2 is going to sell less than Part 1. So they can't really spend more money on it.
And that was not to say Breath of the Wild is bad in any way, because Breath of the Wild is awesome, but... FF7 x Breath of the Wild is the worst combo.
I think that they should do a world map, make it larger and more detailed than the world map in FF7, but have a world map with random encounters on it that send you to unique instanced battle arenas, and add a few more exploration areas. Add a few more, like, when you walk into the woods, instead of it just being you walk around in some green pixels, there's a small woods level.
See, what I was going to, this is actually kind of timely, but at the same time, no one's going to get it unless they're a fan of niche PC games. They should do it the way that it's done in Mountain Blade, either the original or the one that just came out, where the way it works is basically you have an overworld that has your little guy on it, and you can move around the overworld, but then there are like bandit hideouts, and there are towns, and there are large cities and castles that you can go into, and they're walkable environments. There's not much in those environments usually, unless they're large towns. The large towns are actually pretty spacious. But it should be that, but just each area is an actual like RPG level. I think that's the way you do it.
I think you do a world map similar to FF7. You just make it maybe let's say that the world map of the remake is 3 times bigger.
Yeah.
And a lot more detail, and there are little explorable areas you can find along the way. But and then you can get Chocobo and you drive the buggy and stuff like that. I think that if you don't have that abstracted out world map, it's going to make the game really. It's going to really mess with the game's pacing. It's going to mess with the game's budget and its pacing in a really bad way on both counts. Bobcat says Yazora is best boss in the series. Can confirm as a 2FM elitist. Yeah, it looks cool. Like I said.
Yeah, FF7 Remake Part 2 should be structured like FF12, using zones rather than an open world. Part 3 could actually be open world since they could introduce the airship. Yeah, I could see that happening. I think you still have to have the world map connecting all of it. I feel like just the cursor on the FF12 map's not enough. I think some people really want to have that overworld where you're walking around. I think that would be a better way to do that. That's just me, though. The FF12 style might be what they do. That would be smart.
No, the FF12 style, you have to make way too many rooms. The fidelity that they're making the game, they can't make it that big.
It has to be these super high-res PS5 level textures because crazy.
I'm telling you, you can't do FF12 style where you explore the world in more or less the real scale, but just occasionally, like you walk across a load zone and it goes too far.
Yeah, both of those are way too ambitious for a next-gen game.
You can't. It's not that it's too ambitious for a next-gen game. It's too ambitious for a game that doesn't want to be 17 parts. Because if you go to that scale, then it's like, what? The second game will stop at, like, Costa del Sol. And the third game will stop at Rocket Town.
It's gonna
And the fourth game will stop at the Temple of the Ancients.
Oh,
and the fifth game will stop at North Crater. And the sixth game will stop at Midgar,
So yeah,
and then
I
you
guess
need
the
another
second-
game.
I guess the
You
second-
can't.
I guess the second game does have to end with the Temple of the Ancients. That's the only place you can really end it.
Narratively, that's what works, and to get there on a budget and with good pacing, you have to have a world
That or
map.
the Forgotten City. Those are the only two places you can put it.
Oh no, Forgotten City. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's
No,
what I meant
You
too.
don't. You
Yeah,
don't
that's what I
end. You
meant
don't game. You don't end game 2 on.
Yeah, that's totally what I meant. I'm
yeah.
just an idiot and forgot what it's called. Because there are two weird locations right back to back.
Sarcastic one says, I don't see modern Square Enix doing a traditional overworld given their current priorities, but we can hope. I agree. I don't see them doing it, but as far as I'm concerned, that's the only practical way to do it.
It's the only way to get that game out in less
It
than
has
3
to be
years.
done.
It's the only way that that game can be out in less
They
than
may not
3
do
years.
it, but it has to be done. It is the only reasonable option. Bobcat, from the way that you are talking, Jacob, I'm just guessing that most of what you've seen from FF7R is the first half of the game.
Yes.
I watched up
He got
to
to Wall Market.
Wall Market. And I don't know how long the game is. You know, I don't know how much is after that. And there are several points in the front half of the game, from what I've seen, where basically like it's like 5 hours of content that did not exist in the original occurs. So, you know, I don't know, there could be, and I'm saying like, I'm not saying that there's only 5 hours of content that exists in the original. I'm saying that occasionally the original game will be happening essentially, and then a character will go, hey, let's do this. And then 5 hours of new stuff will happen. So I don't know how much, and that happens a couple times not maybe 5 hours is a lot, an hour or two. And that happens once or twice just from what I've seen. So I don't know how much content and how many hours are actually after Wall Market anymore.
Okay, so J-Dog asks, but do you guys think we'll have enough playtime with this first part of FF7R? Do you think it'll be generally short? It's gonna be short.
From what I've seen,
It's gonna be probably like 25 hours.
From what
and
I've
that's
seen,
with most of the extras, I would say.
25 hours is probably about right. But I also think there's going to be more incentive to play this game on like hard difficulty afterwards than a lot of these because it's a real action game.
Yeah, I hope there's a new game plus.
There are. How much can I say? There is a wealth of optional content. That's all I'll say.
More people asking you to make a Discord. Make a Discord, Jacob.
I still don't know what
He doesn't
Discord
know
is.
what it does.
I still don't know what Discord is.
I have Discord, but I'm not gonna MC that. I don't have the time. So yeah, he doesn't know what Discord is.
I appreciate the
He's a little
suggestion,
nerd.
but Yash Kapoor, Jacob, what's your favorite line from the remake demo
Do you have
of?
some kind of fetish or
You
something?
have like a fetish or something? Absolutely. After that, maybe get help when he tells him, you know, when he says, when he's like, you know, you really hear the planet talking? Damn straight I do. Get help.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff like that, and this is a not to get into too much, but I really like there's some great characterization stuff with Cloud where it's like he is tough and he's trying to be cool, but he's not like too much of an asshole, especially after he starts to get to know people a little bit better. Like there are multiple points in the game where a character's like, damn it, I can't believe I got hurt doing this. I'm so useless, or like, man, I can't believe that didn't work. And he's not like he doesn't go like he doesn't go like get up and get back to work. He's like, it happens. Don't worry about it. Like everybody gets hurt. Don't beat yourself up over something that just happens.
Which is perfect for Cloud.
Which is good.
Discord is like a private Reddit.
I kind of know what it is. I basically understand it.
He doesn't know what it is.
I'll be real with you guys. This doing YouTube is exhausting enough already. I don't think I could handle like having a server of people that I go in and talk to all the time.
Be Jerry
but,
Freeman and have your spirit completely broken by Discord.
Epic Blue Boy says Futaba voices Jesse. Sign me the F up. More than that, Ryuji voices Red 13.
Really?
Yes. The guy who voices One Punch Man in the English dub of One Punch Man, and Ryuji in Persona 5 is Red 13.
That's cool.
So hopefully we'll get some more P5 alums in the next game. Who knows?
Yuffie's probably going to be like Makoto or something.
She doesn't sound right for...
No, it
She's
doesn't.
too mature for Yuffie.
On, maybe? Voice actress for
Yeah, why not?
On?
Yeah.
screw
Get
it.
Erica Lindbecker or whatever her name is. Have her... Yeah, whatever. She
Yeah,
can be
do it.
Yuffie. Who cares?
Who cares? Get more.
Absolutely. Get more P5R. Get more P5R people in there. Just P5, not P5R. I meant your age, not your gosh darn rank's also a pretty good one, Randy Hart. Not your age, not your goddamn rank. That's also a good line. All right, we should probably be wrapping up though. We will be returning for another stream at some point in the near future. Yeah, Aerith is also a YouTuber, points out Yosh. She's actually doing very slowly because I assume she has more pressing things to do as a professional voice actress than she does with YouTube. But she is doing a very slow playthrough of PS1 Final Fantasy VII Remake. She actually had a couple of the other actors on. I know that she had the guy who plays Barrett on for one episode. I haven't checked any of that out, but that's on my to-do list at some point when I have free time.
No, man, just let the Discord govern itself to the point of no return, and then just delete it.
That's what happened with Jerry Freeman and his Ruby rewrite project.
I feel so bad for that man.
Oh, I don't feel bad for him. He cut and run. He fixed it. Delete, gone, and he did his own thing, and then he got out.
And it worked.
Jerry Freeman wins. I suggest pirating this one, folks, because I don't want to support the lizard effers or the lizards. But Jerry, don't you want to support the anime industry? No! So good. Okay, folks, that's all for today. We will be continuing with Gravity Rush streams, probably on weekends, probably not on weekdays, but we'll see how that goes.
If the remake actually gets here on time, I mean, that might be next weekend.
When the FF7 remake gets here, Joshua and I will do at least a couple of streams of it. It's not gonna be a full playthrough.
If it doesn't get here on time, I might bust into Walmart on the premise of getting groceries or something and run back there and grab a copy and run back to the house.
If game gets here on time, we'll probably do a couple of streams, depending on how we're feeling about it, turnout from you guys. Maybe we'll play a good chunk of it, but for now, just expect like 1 or 2 dipping our toes in the FF7 remake streams. We're probably going to want to play it on our own time, but we'll see how that goes. You know, never say never. On top of that, we have a couple of research rambles in the can that may come out over the next couple of weeks before Sonic Adventure starts, which is starting on April 20th, by the way.
Oh, J-Dog, $10. Sorry I'm broke, but thanks for the stream and for the info on FF7 Remake.
Sorry you're
$10.
broke.
How are you broke?
If you're broke, no, if you're broke, don't give us money.
Don't give us money if you're broke.
People don't have jobs.
Yeah.
In the United States, they're not going to get their checks from the government for another month.
Don't.
If you're broke, don't give us money. It's appreciated, but no need. I seriously greatly appreciate it. Thank you, J-Dog, but no. To you and to everybody else.
We might be stuck for another month.
To you and to everybody else.
Buy food.
It's possible you're going to be locked in your house for the next 2 months. You don't need to give us money if you don't have money.
Please, it's okay.
It's fine. But yeah, so more Gravity Rush streams, eventually FF7 Remake streams, possibly rambles, depends on if I get them done, because I've been in the weeds on editing Sonic, so the actual rambles that would come out between KH3 and Sonic aren't edited, because they're, you know, optional. And we'll also be doing, like I said, even though we talked about a lot of it today, I have more stuff that I could potentially say about the ending of Kingdom Hearts 3, and more things to talk about. So we will be doing at some point a kind of one more like Kingdom Hearts 3 discussion stream. We won't be playing Call of Duty or anything else. We'll be watching the final episode of Kingdom Hearts 3. I'll be commentating over it and reading both whoever shows up in chat for the live stream and also the chat from the premiere. We're doing that sometime in the coming few days. And who knows what else is going to be on research runs before Sonic Adventure happens. We'll see. We'll see what else we can squeeze out. There'll probably be a few other just variety streams. I really want to play some Mario Kart 8, so that's probably going to happen at some point. But other than that, no concrete plans for anything other than Sonic Adventure starting on April 20th. Be there or be square. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Thanks again to everybody who donated today. J-Dog, Simon Surik, Sean, Linus, Brad, Wrong End of Utilitarian Calculus, JG, Rainy Heart, Drew Tosmiak, yeah. Everybody who donated today, some of you may not even be here anymore. Thank you very much, greatly appreciate it. But again, also to everybody out there, you know, don't feel under any obligation to support us financially right now because we're fine.
You guys have more important things.
I mean, who knows? They might live in their parents' house and they don't have any overhead. I'm just saying, please, everybody, always consider your costs and your personal situation and know that we're fine. We're not like other streamers where this is our job and we're gonna starve if we don't get money or whatever. So, greatly appreciate it again, J-Dog. But everybody, you know, now are trying times, so don't worry about us unless you got money to spare.
Most likely, and if not,
who knows? Who cares?
Fine.
Whatever. Adios, everybody.
See ya.